This is the Gore Club Podcast with Steve Vessel, Derek Sturgeon, and Deathmetal Dave.
Sorry, Mr. Holland's Opus. That wasn't his last name, right? He was Mr. Holland, but it's like his Opus.
Opus is, it's that piece of music.
You know, I always thought that was his name.
Or whatever, I can't remember.
Until like just now, I thought that was his whole name until you said that.
Yeah.
I thought the
What's up,
movie
Dave?
was like...
Am I on?
Yeah. Oh, there you are. There you go.
Am I on?
You
I
are
can
on.
hear you.
I am on.
You're here now.
I just can't hear things.
I can hear things. I hear
Good.
you all.
Good. Great.
Welcome back.
Wonderful.
Are we ready?
I guess we're
Let's
ready.
do this.
Yeah,
All right.
we're on.
Welcome to the Gore Club Podcast, everybody. I'm Steve Vessel.
Deathmetal Dave.
I'm Derek.
Yeah. And tonight we're doing 1981 Part 2.
Part 2.
Boogaloo.
We're not discussing Mr. Holland's Opus.
We're not doing that.
No.
It's very appropriate because there's so many sequels in
Richard Dreyfuss
1981.
movies?
Fuck
No,
yeah.
not very many Richard Dreyfuss movies.
We definitely touched upon how many sequels happened in this year.
Yeah, I mean, we went through, let's see, January to July.
Yeah, now we're in August.
Now, this is when things start heating up.
Well, there's something there's something to be said about 1981. And last episode we touched upon, like, hey, the Rubik's Cube or whatever the fuck, that was 1980. But what was going on in the year 1981 besides horror? We talked about Adam Walsh and all these things. This time I want to open up with about like being a horror person, nerd compared to then. Like, there's something to be said about horror films, like, that have not been seen by people or were seen by people, and then like the caliber of the horror nerd compared to back then. Like back then, if you watched 5 horror movies, you got your nerd card because they were all you. You had to go to the drive-in, you go see them. You had to maybe see them on VHS if you had a player, not a recorder, not yet.
The VHS player that you would rent from the video store in that giant suitcase.
Yeah, a big plastic suitcase.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Always full of roaches.
and keeping up with like Fangoria or Starlog or Cinefantastic or whatever, that made you feel like you're in your tribe. And once you did that, then you're thought of being evil, need to be locked up in a psychiatric ward. Nowadays, to keep up with how many horror films are being released in 1981. Almost 70 were released on television, the drive-in, and the theater, not VHS. These are all releases that happened. We talked about this a little bit last episode, but I really want to push it forward. Like the nerdom nowadays, I can't imagine it because everyone's like, did you see the 7 episodes that came out last night and the 9 hours of streaming? And then like every independent movie that's actually getting a pretty good release. Like, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can name like 6 or 7 just from like the last week that I've seen people say, like, hey, have you seen the new Conjuring or have you seen this movie, Quiet Place 2, Conjuring, all these things coming out at the same fucking time. Spiral.
The recently discovered Romero movie, Amusement Park.
Oh, amusement, yeah.
And on top of that, you're trying to keep track of new releases that are coming out. Like you'll open up a Horror Hound or whatever, and it'll have the Blu-ray section of re-releases of movies that came out in 1981. You're like, fuck. Can you imagine having to keep up with all these? Like, yeah, I know. Do you know this? Do you know that? And then you're going to get shit on by other horror nerds. And I guess my thing is like, now I feel bad for horror nerds who are like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. It's like, do you? And I'm not going to shit on you for not, because how can you? You're overwhelmed. It's overwhelming.
I don't even pay attention to most shit that comes out now. And, even 81's right before that whole 80s boom of slashers and the VHS boom.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a light year compared to what we get in 84 up to like the early 90s.
Yeah, because the VHS is hitting.
Yeah, I mean, once you get to like 85 on this, I mean, 1 year, 81, you could probably stuff into 1 month in 85. And it's worse now. Like it's worse in 2021 because it's constant. And there's so many streaming services, even ones that are dedicated to horror. Not to mention the TV series, Walking Dead, American Horror Story, all that shit. It's constantly being churned out. Silence of the Lambs has TV shows. Clarice just started, I guess, or maybe it's been around. But no, it's nonstop. I can't keep up with it, and I'm like the go-to horror nerd for a lot of people. And I'm always like, I didn't watch it. Sorry,
I couldn't get to it.
If you want to talk pre like '99, I can talk to you about fucking everything. But after that, dude, now it's crazy.
I guess I just wanted to touch upon that, like trying to look and categorize these films when we do these episodes, like these mammoth ones like we're doing right now, where we have to split them into 2 episodes. It's like, fuck, what the hell? I feel bad for new horror nerds trying to do what we're doing, or even trying to just be in the community without being like shit on by some guy with a battle vest. It's like, come on, man. Well, I'm 14, motherfucker.
And I've talked about this before. I think a lot of this shit, especially these weird movies that we talk about, which aren't always like the most known, I think a lot of them are going to be forgotten in 20 years. Yeah. Because when you do, think of my son, he watches a lot of the classics with me. He's 12. But the generation after him, I don't know how many of those movies he's going to show to his kids. And they're not going to have time to go look up and watch Heavy Metal or Student Bodies or Hell Night. Like, they're not going to fucking take the time to research and go back to 81 because every single day there's going to be a new horror movie coming out. Yeah. There's no way to go back and look at that. Just like most kids today don't listen to a lot of classic music or even music that came out pre like 2015 because they don't have time for it because there's already a new YouTube video up.
Right. Well, the attention span is probably one thing, but then you also got to think of will the movies be available then? You know, well, physical media is sort of almost a thing of the past. And then when it goes to streaming, some of these movies are definitely not going to be streaming on Amazon. They're not going to be on Netflix. They're not going to be in any of those.
What was it? I went to Meijer, Target, and a few other places looking just for a Blu-ray player that is like region free or whatever, and not just that, but like. All of them had five Blu-ray players. It's the equivalent of like when I was trying to get a couple of VCRs before they were going dead. Like, oh, there's one, and it's gone. And like, that's crazy. Physical media. We always talk about it, and it's gone. It's going to be gone.
It'll come back in a way like vinyls are popular still. Like, there's going to be stores that carry it specifically, and there'll be a little section in your Best Buy, or if a Best Buy is still around, but that's it. Because right now, during this pandemic shit, dude, a lot of the physical media stuff's blown up, especially like VHS. I'm in a lot of like wrestling forums and communities, and you know, WWE had their network for a while. They launched it, I think, 2011, 2012. Everyone sold all their shit when they did that because they're like, got the network, I can stream everything. Well, they just got bought by Peacock, so now they had to move everything to Peacock. They didn't move everything though.
Of course
not. So now there's this big boom in like wrestling VHS and wrestling DVDs because people are like, oh fuck, I need to own that now. And even if it is getting moved to Peacock, they've already planted that seed saying, hey, this can disappear anytime. If you like it, you need to own it. You know? Yeah. So that's kind of causing like a little bit of a boom, but I don't think it's enough to keep this thing alive. It's going to go off the rails eventually.
Oh, eventually it will.
Eventually it will. Just trying to get ready for this episode is a nightmare.
Yeah. No,
let's talk about our nightmare.
Oh, no.
Let's start with August.
Oh, August, yeah.
August 7th.
The first movie, August 7th, you had two movies. Heavy Metal.
Three, actually.
Three. Oh, crap. There were three movies.
Yeah.
We'll start with the first one.
Same day.
Heavy Metal.
Heavy Metal. Let's see. Directed by Gerald Pottinson, produced by Ivan Reitman. Said some things about us. We said a little bit about it on the Sword and Sorcery episode, but it was like, the thing about this is like it's an anthology, so much like anthologies are like there's something for everybody. There's a Sword and Sorcery part, and then there's the horror part, which is like, what's the B-17 episode? Mm-hmm. It's awesome. I love that. And that's what I remember the most about that whole fucking movie.
How did they promote this movie? Like, what was it pushed as?
It was one of the first, like Felix the Cat, if you know anything about that kind of film. It was a big deal because it was adult. There's nudity, violence, language.
It got a wide release, right?
It did. Okay. It did. And it did very, very well.
And it had a good soundtrack, too. The soundtrack was a big thing for it, too. I mean, the magazine was pretty popular in its own right. And, you know, people are like, hey, we're going to make a movie of this. And like I said, the soundtrack, you have Black Sabbath, you have all these bands that, you know, for me, when
Sammy
I'm watching,
Hagar, I guess, is heavy metal.
Well, watching it for the first time, like I'd never heard a lot of those bands.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you know, the music's one of the reasons why it was gone for so long because they had to keep getting rights to the songs that were in the movie, which makes it tough. But
yeah, it disappeared from distribution or physical media. Talking about that for almost 20 years. Because they couldn't, it seemed insane until that VHS came out, and everybody was like, "Oh shit, Heavy Metal!" I remember that movie when I was
silver cover,
right?
It's very in your face.
Yeah, the episode that I'm talking about, or the part in that movie I'm talking about, it's called B-17. It was directed by Barry Nelson, written by Dan O'Bannon, and the iconic song by Don Felder. It's the animated film. It's like the American. The B-2, it's a B-17 bomber, and it's like a zombie episode. Before zombies were played out, it was amazing. And I remember how fucking freaked out I was because before that, it's just like, oh, this is fun. It's kind of violent. It's aliens. And then they had the Den episode, and then it's like everything just changed. Like the whole episode just went dark. Like I think you had the Stern one before this, which is kind of a really comedy thing, and they were setting you up for failure, baby, as a kid. But like John Candy's in it. Harold Ramis has a voice. Eugene Levy. Who else? I've got Roger Bumpus, who's actually Squidward and SpongeBob. He does it. But this is the one that has like hardly any dialogue, and it's just moody and violent and fucked up, and it has a horrible ending. You're like, well, That's awful. I'm depressed.
So before this, how many adult animated movies were wide release?
What was it? Maybe Lord of the Rings and Felix the Cat, like I said.
Fire and Ice. Well, Fire and Ice was after this, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And it's that was Ralph Bakshi. Yeah, he did Lord of the Rings.
I wouldn't know that if we didn't just do Sword and Sorcery.
Right.
Yeah, right.
We literally didn't just talk about it, did we?
But that was it. A lot of these guys were like, "No, well, fuck Disney. We're making some titty movies, but animated."
That's
awesome.
And that's why I wasn't depressed when I saw heavy metal. I just saw cartoon titties.
But to get distribution for that's kind of fucking crazy, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was. That's why a lot of these animators left, like Disney and who else? It was not Looney Tunes, but the company that owns them, Warner Brothers. And they were like, "Well, we want to make these movies." And like then you get who's the guy who made Secret of NIMH? And like All Dogs Go to Heaven. He left Disney. He left all these people, or like maybe not Disney. I can't remember, but they left all these other studios, and they're like, "I'm making my kind of adult animated thing." Same thing that Pixar did.
Yeah,
when they're like, "No, we're going to do this movie called The Incredibles." They're like, "Man, this is not for children."
It's still
like,
kind of PG, but it
blew up, and they were like, "I'm sorry, you can have Disney now, Pixar."
Yeah, it's went a little bit of a different direction with kids' movies now, to where there's more adult themes in it, but it's not like fucking how heavy metal is. No. And I always wonder how parents reacted to heavy metal when it came out. Because I definitely wasn't around. I was born in '86, but I remember Beavis and Butthead in South Park, and parents saying, "Well, it's not okay because this is a cartoon, so you're telling us it's a kid's thing, but it's not." And I wonder if heavy metal got that same backlash, even though it's blatantly not for fucking kids.
Yeah,
you're just a shitty parent. You don't pay attention.
I'm sure it was rated R.
I'm sure it was. Where's the words? Yeah, I guess
we just did homework and I didn't even look at the rating, but yeah.
I've been happy with rating.
Don Bluth is who you're thinking.
Don Bluth, okay, yes. yeah, that's him. I love Don Bluth. Like Secret of NIMH is one of my favorite animated films of all time.
Very dark.
God damn, yeah. It's one of the first times that movie was one of the first times I saw animated blood. I didn't see heavy metal until later.
Zero titties though in that one.
Zero titties.
Yeah, mouse titties. I just don't know how I feel about that.
It's not as depressing as Plague Dogs, but we'll talk about that
some other.
We'll talk about that some other time.
Oh my gosh, that's depressing as fuck, and it's not a horror movie. Don't watch it, you'll cry.
Yeah.
You move on to Hell Night?
Move on to Hell Night.
Hell Night. Directed by Tom DeSimone, who made actually a lot of gay comedies and softcore horror. I wish they were softcore and a few hardcore movies. He made this, and he made Savage Streets. And almost
both with Linda Blair.
Yeah.
So like Linda Blair found somebody that liked her.
Cast her
and she was like, put me in 2 movies.
Well, she was trying to break away from like the whole scream queen type thing, like trying to get away from horror, and then she did that photo shoot after this movie, and then straight to the B movie bin she went.
Yeah, well, I don't know how they put that together. Like
she was trying to get away from being a scream queen.
Yeah, she was trying to get away from like either being not taken seriously or as a child, or as a B queen.
So she did this movie where she can't act for shit, but her tits look huge.
Yeah, very good push.
Pretty much.
Yeah, like me for my acting.
This movie not only it was the last film by Compass International.
Yeah,
they were the
it became Trunkus, and this was their last one.
This was their last one until they rebranded. But I mean, they've released Halloween, Tourist Trap, Fade to Black, Blood Beach. I mean, and that's in that short run, they had a lot of good movies, and this one killed it.
Yeah, well, this was a part of like I'm sure a bunch of other movies also did the same concept, but the idea of a bunch of teenagers going into an abandoned house and partying just became like an 80s, like the ultimate 80s
Night
cliche.
of the Demons.
Yeah, and that came after this, though. And this is one of like the earlier ones of going like, hey, let's go party in a haunted house, because every neighborhood has a fucking haunted mansion.
Yeah, I know.
Which is insane.
Well, like, what fucking fraternity is a co-ed and only has 2 fucking, like, what do you call them? Where they're going to get, they want to get
pledges?
Yeah. What the fuck? Okay, we're together.
Well, they were at capacity. Did you see how many fucking people were there?
There was a lot of fucking people there.
The party was in the street and looked like for miles, but later on, everybody's gone. I was like, that's not real.
Yeah, and it's always weird when they drop them off at the house, the entire party goes to drop them off at the house. I always thought that was fucking weird.
I'm not doing that.
You're leaving like 5 people because they're all hammered. You're shit faced because they're like, it's that time now because Bobby's puking on the floor. That's how they determine it's time.
Trophy case.
Yeah. So Magneto, who's the leader of this group, is like, it's time to go do the prank. Which, by the way, Magneto has one of my favorite horror movie chases because he's trying to avoid the killer, and if you watch this movie, you know what I mean by Magneto. If you know what the fuck Magneto is,
it looks like a mix between Doctor Strange and Magneto.
Yeah, the motherfucker's
costume party.
dressed as Magneto. They stole that shit from like an X-Men movie by Roger Corman that was never made. He runs through like a maze and he's hiding, but the whole time he's hiding, in this fucking field maze. He's holding a flashlight that's on.
I was hoping you were going to bring that up. I was hoping you were going to do that.
It's fucking obvious where you're at, man. You got to turn the fucking flashlight off. You're going to hide.
Yeah, he hits him with it and then runs off with it. I'm
They're like running into a room and like turning on my strobe light.
Like, follow me.
I'll never find us
Kevin
in here.
Brophy, and apparently he still has that cape.
Does he really?
Yes.
He's probably sitting there hoping like they're gonna make me Magneto one day. Somebody's gonna fucking. I'm almost at the age, motherfuckers.
I read somewhere, and I didn't know if it was true. He was talking about like he always wears it on Halloween. I guess.
Okay, that's great.
You see, it's probably a rumor, but it'd just be sad if you were like knocking on his door for candy, and you're like, "Oh fuck, dude, move on."
This movie's like beloved by horror fans. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I like to go back and watch it because of how much it makes me laugh all the time. But so many bad scenes, like the dialogue between the guy that looks like Owen Hart and the girl, where it's like
Vince Van Patten.
Yeah, just like the fucker is like the most ridiculous shit in the world. And then like when Linda Blair finally puts out with that one dude, they're like, "I'm into elves and witches." "Oh, you are? Me too." And they just start going at it. When she's supposed to be the biggest prude in the world, but she's like, "You like elves?" And then the best scene is when Owen Hart fucking goes into the police station. He's like, "My friends are getting killed," and the cops are like, "I know you kids. Fuck you. We're not going to help you." And then he just proceeds to go in the evidence room and steal their weapons.
Walks by it.
Walks right the fuck
It's
in.
unlocked. It's full of guns.
It makes me laugh every time because I'm like, this is the ultimate like turn your brain off fucking movie. And I get why people find it fun, but Hell Night is not for me. And also, fuck Linda Blair.
Yeah, Linda Blair.
Not a nice person.
Not at this point, but you're talking about Irwin Yablans was the producer of this, and he was the one who really got those movies like like you said, Halloween 2, 3, maybe even 4. I cannot remember. Vince Van Patten. Everyone remembers what was his name? Goddamn, Peter Barton, who's in Friday the 13th Part 4.
Everybody remembers what is his name.
Yeah, because if you're on this
Barton.
podcast, you know my brain just goes blip. He dies in the shower. You know, he's I can't remember his name. But fucking Friday the 13th. But I always remember his name is Peter Barton.
It's Magneto.
Yeah.
It is Peter Barton. In my notes, I actually have Magneto / Peter Barton. So there's that. Actually, I put Peter Bennett for some reason, but I guess I'm an idiot. So
No, that's okay.
maybe autocorrect was like, he's Bennett.
Not Barton.
Fuck it.
Nobody talks about that guy.
After Hell Night, we had, this is one you guys can talk about because I have not watched this in forever. On the same day, Student Bodies.
Student Bodies. I saw this with Dave. Actually, you had a copy of it.
Yeah, I bought a bootleg, and I was
That's
like,
it.
"You have
Okay.
to watch this," because I saw it. I saw it on TV, like it was like USA or some shit like that years ago. And if you've never seen Student Bodies, it's just a horror spoof. I mean, it's just like they take every trope from a horror movie, from the heavy breather to like
What's the name of the killer?
Yeah, the heavy breather. He just breathes just really heavy.
It's just like Michael Myers.
And just says stuff. Like at one point he steps down on the girls in the shower and he's just like, "I'm touching myself."
So it's a spoof of like slashers? Is that the
Yeah,
thing?
it's a spoof on
It's
slashers.
one of the original ones, like this in Class Reunion.
Well, so like a week from each other, though, we get Saturday the 14th.
Yeah,
the
it's
following
really-
week. So
really
that's really
odd.
weird that
Yeah.
two spoofs from a time that's not known for spoof movies.
I always just remember the janitor, like Mervyn. My favorite line in the movie is he just walks into the principal's office when he's got a student in there, and the student and the principal are just talking, and he just turns at the corner and he starts peeing into a trash can, and they don't even stop. And the student looks over, and then he turns around after he's done peeing. He says, "Sometimes Mervyn pee red," and he just walks out. And they're like, "We haven't had the heart to tell him that we moved the bathroom." But the movie's really good. It's really fun. I highly recommend watching it. It bombed. It was not successful at all. The only thing that saved
There
it,
were 70 fucking movies to watch that
yeah,
year.
the only thing saved it is it got caught on in syndication because it was rated R, but it's only rated R because they have a scene where the producers just yell "fuck you," and that's how they got their rated R.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So.
Because I guess they wanted to be taken serious.
Yeah, no, they just wanted to rate it R because they thought it would attract more.
So I meant,
you know,
like like us in our PG-13
Curious
episode.
people.
Yeah.
And you get the teenagers at that point, too.
yeah. So it's a hilarious movie. I mean, like I said, it's just set up like a horror film. You have the killer that spies on people, that kills them in ridiculous ways.
I always got this one and the one with Brad Pitt, the horror spoof he did, mixed together. I think that was like Cutting Class.
Cutting Class, yeah.
Okay, and then when I finally saw it with Dave, and I was like, oh my fucking God, I remember that guy because the janitor is like the most articulated person.
Yeah, he's very like he can move really weird.
He's like 7 foot tall, and his arms are 6.
Yeah. But one other thing I remember is in movies they usually have like the 555 numbers. Well, there's a part where they show a phone number, and it's an actual phone number for somebody.
Oh, those poor people.
No, it's a bar. You can call it.
Oh, you've done it.
Wow.
Yeah. If you watch the movie, you get the number, just call it. It's a bar. I'm sure they're used to it by now.
They're probably fucking sick of it. Maybe it's keeping them in business.
This is
Hey, come and have a drink.
The Student Bodies Bar.
Student Bodies Bar. You were talking about like Saturday the 14th. Now, Saturday the 14th is like a spoof on classic Universal
Monsters.
Yeah. Did any of you guys check that movie out?
Well, yeah, I've watched this so many times.
Okay, I
man.
haven't seen it in a while, but I did make some notes.
What are your notes?
Very much in the comedy vein of Airplane and Naked Gun movies. And it's produced by Julie Corman, who actually helped us get like Chopping Mall made and Summer School and Teachers and Candy Stripe Nurses. She did a lot of like softcore comedy films, like that kind of thing. And then she decided, oh, fuck it, I'm going to make a horror movie. But it's still a spoof.
Yeah, still spoofed, and it's just essentially a family inherits a house that Dracula wants to buy.
There you go. That's the whole movie.
That's your whole story, but it happens, and then they go with all like the cliches. There's a book that you're not supposed to read from. They read from it, and then we get
evil, and it's called the Book of Evil.
Book of Evil. I mean, there's a lot of fun characters in it.
Jeffrey Tambor plays Dracula.
He's a great fucking Dracula.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fun dialogue in it. The creature scene, which is done before, was it? See, I always wonder what that scene was. That before Nightmare on Elm Street?
Oh yeah, because Nightmare on Elm Street didn't come out until like what 85?
Yeah,
83 or 4.
And that's the scene from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, it's straight up.
So that's really weird. I always forget about that when it happens. But.
Yeah. He's talking about the bathtub scene where instead of like Freddy's hand, it's actually like the creature from the Black Lagoon just comes out. And he just wants like a sandwich or something. I forgot the dialogue. He says something and it's like subtitled and it's like, what's going on, girl? And she's freaking the fuck out. But it's got Richard Benjamin and his wife, his real life wife, Paula Prentice, I think. And he just did like Love at First Bite the same year. We just talked about that movie on like was last episode. Mm-hmm. And who else is in it? I mean, I made a bunch of notes. Servan Darden is Van Helsing. He's like in Planet of the Apes, Vanishing Point, Werewolves
He's a real piece of shit.
Right. I'm not going to spoil the ending on this one. Carly Mickelson, it was actually an 80s like teen queen. She did Different Strokes, 8 is Enough, Chips, Incredible Hulk, Give Me a Break, and Fantasy Island.
That's a lot of classics you named there.
All right.
Oh shit, my grandparents watch.
Right, I know, right? But I was going to say in the house that is across the street from them, talking about a Nightmare on Elm Street, the movie is the house that they're on is Elm Street. The house across the street is Nancy's house.
That's fucking wild.
It can't be a fucking coincidence, Wes Craven.
So you think he did that as a tribute to it? Like a weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
What year was Nightmare? 84.
I want to say 84, 85. If you're in the comment section on our YouTube page, have some fun and tell us we're idiots because we can't remember right now.
Yeah, I mean, this movie does have a cult following, though. I see it brought up quite a bit. Yeah. And there's always the people that have to be different. So anytime there's like Friday the 13th coming up, there'll be somebody like, well, for me, it's Saturday the 14th. This is my favorite movie.
And they made a bad sequel.
84. Yeah, it was the Saturday the 14th Strikes Back. Yeah.
I think Friday the 13th Part 3 should have been called Saturday the 14th, if I remember correctly.
Because it was.
Yeah. Because Part 2 was, like a year after it, right? The year after the first incident?
Yeah.
Friday the 13th the next year. And so, and Part 3 is the day after that.
The day over, yeah.
Yeah, Saturday the 14th. Motherfuckers. They're probably like, this stupid spoof already came out. We can't do it.
Can't do it. They snatched it up. It's just somebody hated them.
It's always just Friday from now on, even though like Part 3 is Saturday and Part 4 is Sunday.
It'd be weird if you got to like Wednesday the 23rd, though. It would just be...
That movie sucks.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
You guys want to move on? We've got Deadly Blessing up there, but I have not seen that. It was a television movie, I think, by Wes Craven. I could be wrong. Please tell me I am if I am. But I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid. I know they put out a Blu-ray, I think, of it.
Yeah.
It's got Ernest Borgnine in it. It's like a witchcraft movie. I actually remember not digging it. It's got Michael Berryman in it. I remember that. That was cool because I saw it, years later on television. I was like, oh, it's the dude from Weird Science. I wasn't thinking of like The Hills Have Eyes. But
what's the movie that has the head explosion from the basketball?
Oh, it's
Deadly Friend.
Deadly Friend.
I always get those two titles mixed up because when I saw that on your board, I'm like, that didn't fucking come out in 81. I'm like, oh no, it's Deadly Friend.
It's a Wes Craven thing. Deadly.
Yeah, we talk about that movie later.
House by the Cemetery.
The most annoying fucking child in cinema history.
I was so annoyed that I brought it up last episode on the wrong movie because I fucked Bob.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
That fucking kid, man. I've never rooted for child murder in my life until I saw that movie.
Oh.
What's wrong, Dave? He's got that
His
fucking
voice is so fucking awful.
I rewatched that and I just wanted to mute it.
The third Gates of Hell movie.
It is.
Yeah, I deleted all my notes for that one. Oh, no, there it is. Oh, yeah, fuck that kid.
Everybody, I mean, they showed this one on Joe Bob, The Last Drive-In recently, too, and it was trending hashtag fuck Bob.
Oh, thank God.
My first note is babysitter is a dummy. Bob's a little piece of shit with a terrible dub.
He's the worst dub of all time.
You're not wrong.
Let's see. Directed by Fulci, written by Fulci, and Giorgio. I'm the worst at Italian names. Mario Uscio and Dardo Ciccati. Story by Ella Briganti and inspired by Lovecraft. Duh. That's what I wrote.
Yeah, I mean it's very Fulci. You know,
and it's Catriona McCall again. It's got Paolo Malco. Let's see. Giovanni. I had to remember this guy's name. Frieza is fucking Bob. And Ania Peroni is the babysitter, and she's also the third mother that we see in Inferno in the class scene. And we don't see her again in Inferno. But you know what? She shows up in this as the shitty, stupid fucking babysitter.
And this was made by Louis Fuller, not Fulci, remember?
Yeah, no, they changed. They had to make it American, you know.
What makes people think, though, that they're going to see Louis Fuller and go, you know, that's better than Fulci. Let's go with that.
Yeah. I forgot what Joe D'Amato's.
It's a good, strong name.
Yeah, like Joey Joseph. I was like, that's awful. I think that's the lead singer of Agnostic Front, but whatever.
You think his name was originally Bob?
Bob.
Hey, Giovanni, you want to go play Bob?
Giovanni Frieza.
That's literally the only note I made on this was that I hate that fucking kid. I don't think I didn't go back and rewatch it. I just wanted to make a note about that kid.
I don't think anybody likes
There's something that I noticed when I went back and rewatched it is that it's a different movie from the one that I think I have the VHS over there. I could be wrong because it's the stack in front of my YouTube, but it's a different cut. It's like the cut is all mixed up. The third act is actually the second act, and it makes no fucking sense. And now when I rewatched it, they have it on streaming. And I was like, oh, it makes more sense now.
I remember liking that movie, but I think I like the blood and gore of all those Italian movies. I think they stab a bat.
The bat attack.
Yeah.
The bat. Everybody remembers the bat attack.
The bat's very important.
The bat's and the reason why you don't go to the basement.
No, he's got a bat thrower in this movie instead of a cat thrower.
Yeah,
they're easier to throw. They're very aerodynamic.
The effects are really good, actually. But it's credited as a Gennaro De Rossi film who just passed away. He actually did not work on this movie. I had to write that down because I never knew that until I started doing a little homework. It's Mario Trani who did the effects for this film. And there's another scene where they did an eye gouging scene. It's all Fulci does, but they cut it out because Fulci said it didn't look real. So then I was like, that's fucked up. And then that's how I found out who did the effects.
Yeah, if there's somebody that knows what a real eyeball getting poked would look like.
It's Fulci.
It'd probably be
Fulci, right?
He's big on realism. That's why he doesn't use any of those dummy cats. He just throws cats.
He still throws cats. Something with Italians and poking people in the eye, man.
It's always brutal, too. There's
Animal not a lot throwers and eye gouging.
There's another movie down here that we'll talk about more eye stuff eventually.
Let's move on. What's next?
American Werewolf
in London.
In London. Derek's favorite werewolf movie.
It is. I mean, it's the best. It's way better than Howling.
Just rub it in, Derek.
That's really all we need to talk about.
You know, it has the best werewolf transformation.
It does.
Of that year, at least.
In bright light, and it looks amazing.
And it's finally getting a cool toy. NECA is doing an American
Werewolf. Fucking awesome.
Oh, man.
I just picked up the new Horror Hound.
I'm so hyped for that.
When they announced that, I got super excited because they already did that bullshit Howling werewolf that nobody wants. That's on clearance on the website now.
God damn it.
And they're finally doing one for a movie people care about. You know what's crazy,
Howling
though?
Part 2?
When you, I shit on the Howling more than I should. I don't hate the Howling. Sometimes I think it gets too much love. But it's kind of weird that, I think the werewolf genre kind of sucks. I don't know. Maybe there's diehard fans of it that can name off other movies.
Why is it so hard to make a good werewolf movie?
But it's weird to me that 3 good ones came out in 1 year. So we had Wolfen, The Howling, and American Werewolf in London in 1 year. And then we went, Till Ginger Snaps?
Pretty much.
Dog Soldiers.
Dog
Soldiers. Yeah.
Dog Soldiers really brought the Howling feel back. And then Ginger Snaps is just a great movie.
They had the show, Werewolf the Show.
Werewolf the Show was great. I think that's makeup by Greg Canham, who did like Lost Boys and things like that. If you don't know what we're talking about, I think we've talked about it before on a different episode.
You have, yes.
Yeah, and it was WDRB television show, and it only lasted like one season.
Yeah.
There's a DVD set for that, though.
It's bootleg as fuck. You can't find it because I keep looking.
It exists.
Oh, I know. It's great because when you watch it, it says Chiller. Remember that show?
Yeah.
That station. It's like in the back, and it's like on the right corner. I'm like, oh well.
Chiller was awesome, though.
I loved it.
Chiller and FearNet, that shit back in the day was the best.
FearNet.com.
I used to watch like the Friday the 13th TV series about the family that owns the antique store. Good point. Like, who got that? Who was like, yeah, you know, we should use the Friday the 13th name for it. These two teenagers run an antique store with their parents.
It's actually a pretty good show. But
it's decent, but you can't get someone to turn it on because of the premise when they see Friday the 13th, even like the lettering and everything. There's even like that Jason mask that's like in the background as like a wink and nod, and then they fuck you.
I wish they'd had that as a cursed object. They never did that episode.
Yeah. I won't go too deep into American Werewolf though, because we could probably spend an hour talking about that. And that
we've talked about it.
We bring it up all the time. I feel like the Howling and American Werewolf probably have been brought up as much as Chud.
Yeah, John Landis, David Naughton,
Trick or Treat,
Dr. Pepper.
Trick or Treat. It's cool that you got Evil Speak. I haven't watched that in forever, but the rumor is, and it doesn't matter because people are going to listen to this 2 months after the fact, but I think Joe Bob's doing it this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's got Clint Howard on, and he said it has to do with the devil, so.
Yeah, Evil Speak.
It's got to be, yeah.
So here's my prediction, even though you guys are going to hear it way later.
Yeah, but we're already ahead of the curve.
This Friday, just to let you know.
It's Friday.
He steals all our other shit.
I was one that actually put Clint Howard front and center. Like, you know, it's nice. So, and when he announced it, I was like, oh, it's finally people will know who the fuck this guy is.
Yeah,
because it's always the face in the background. So good
Clint Howard, he's kind of a character actor type of guy, even though he's almost always the same kind of character.
Right.
Ice Cream Man. That's
Ice
what I was
Cream
thinking.
Man. That's right. He did do that.
Gregory Tudor.
My favorite thing about him is that he sells pictures of his brother.
Oh no!
He does.
He does because I went. Rachel wanted to get his autograph, and I was looking at his table, and I was like, "Wait, that's Ron Howard's autograph." And then he had his dad's autograph on there too.
Yeah, now their dad is even famous.
And I was just like, what's going on here? And he's like, oh, we were Easter, and I asked them if they'd sign something. I was like, cool, I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Holy fuck!
I'm never gonna meet those
people. I didn't know they were actually autographed.
Yeah, they're actually autographs.
He gets them signed. What he does is that, because he told me the same story at family events, he brings just a bunch of 8x10s, has the family sign them, and then sells them at conventions.
Wow!
It was only like $10 more than his autograph, and I'm like, well.
There was one with.
I'm never going to meet your brother.
Yeah, there's one with the whole family. He had the dad and both brothers in like one picture.
Crazy
and shit
awesome.
For like $80. It was kind of like I think his was 30, and then the one for Ron Howard was like 40, and then you can get all three for like.
I think it was 60, something like that. But I mean,
brings that up.
But it's kind of funny though, because like you already kind of make that joke that he's like the brother no one talks about, because of course he did like Evil Speak, and then there's Ticks and fucking Ice Cream Man.
We talked about the Wraith.
Yeah,
I mean, Rock and Roll High School. So many, Roger Corman films.
He does the cooler movies. That's fucking for sure.
Right.
And he's the nicest fucking guy. But it's just so funny to see him just embrace it and go, if you want to buy a picture of my brother, give me money.
Right. Didn't he do 3 from Hell with Bill Moseley? Because I know they just did a panel together like last year.
Oh, yeah. He was in 3 from
actually.
Hell.
Did he?
Yeah, I actually recorded their little panel.
I think I hit delete on my brain.
He was also in Tango and Cash.
He was.
Remember, he was the cellmate with the slinky.
And they ties him up to shut him up. Oh my god, I'm fucking crazy because it says Sylvester Stallone's trying to read or something. I can't remember. Or maybe it's the opposite. He's trying to read, and Clint Howard's like just a psychopath and won't shut the fuck up.
He won't.
That sounds like Clint Howard.
Yeah. Let's go on to September of 1981. And I put
Don't go near the park.
Don't
what the fuck is that?
I wrote some notes.
Please.
And I have a question mark by the name up there because I couldn't find a release date for it. Or I found multiples.
You seen it?
I did.
All right.
I did because it's actually a Linnea Quigley film. It's one of her first movies where she got actual lines. And
they fucked up there.
I said, I'll read what I wrote. It said, boy, this is a really bad one. Bad wigs, bad actings, but good boobs. It's an early Linnea Quigley film. She had a pretty big role in this one. She plays a young girl that befriends the main monster, a brother and sister that are cursed in the Stone Age to be like vampires and have to feed on entrails to stay young. and she ends up marrying him, having his baby so they can sacrifice the baby so that I guess the brother and sister can eat the baby to like reincarnate or something like that. It's really hard to get through. I have to admit, but she's in it for like, I don't know, most of the movie.
Just like Graduation Day.
God damn it. The dude who made this movie. He was 19 years old, and it got an actual wide.
So you could probably
release.
tell.
Oh yeah, it's bad. But if you're like into Herschel Gordon Lewis movies,
okay,
like Blood Feast, not a lot of
you're
people
into dog shit.
People who say like, "Oh, I love those movies." I'm like, "How many do you have?" They're like, I got, and you're not. You just say it because everyone knows the name.
Yeah, I mean that box set went on clearance.
Oh yeah,
and it's beautiful too.
I mean, I've got the Gore Girls VHS over there. Yeah. I enjoy his films, but I understand what they are. They were like a time capsule of that era when people weren't making gore movies, and the blood looks awful, the acting's bad. This is the same thing, but it was made in '81, and it's very much that style. The blood looks awful. So it's probably
influenced by it.
Oh, man. I lost my track because it doesn't even matter anymore. But it's definitely, like, what surprised to me was I actually wrote this down. Bob Burns, who we talked about a couple times, who is the production designer on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Howling, he did the special effects for this movie.
He's the child in that Fulci movie.
God damn it. Not that Bob. And that was the biggest thing about it is like at least they do these stomach tearing scenes and they look pretty decent, but it's still very H.G. Lewis looking cheap.
If someone wants to watch it, where could they find it? Where did you find it?
Jesus. Oh wait, I actually put it on our Gore Club page.
You can't find it with Jesus.
No. Praise the Lord and go to the Gore Club YouTube page, and I put it on a list on there. So there you go.
Cool. There you go. Go to the Gore Club Facebook page and torture yourself.
You want to move on to Cannibal Apocalypse?
Yeah, this is all you again, man.
Is this a sequel to Cannibal Holocaust?
No.
Or Cannibal Ferox?
No, it makes him die slowly.
Xerox.
Is it called something else in another country?
Yes, it does. It has at least three different title changes in its.
So how do these two words go together? Cannibal and apocalypse. How's that work?
Any sense why it's called this? Because it has nothing to do with like the end of the world. There's not a zombie outbreak. Not really. It's a cop drama with John Saxon.
What?
I'm not kidding.
There's a hard left.
Yeah, he comes back. He's got his, I think it's his partner who is infected, and then he just starts infecting other people, like in his army. What do you call that? Like your platoon.
Did you watch this one as well recently?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. I found a Blu-ray at a local video store, and I was like, "Oh, it's so funny! We're going to talk about 1981 releases."
And it's just there.
And it was our book and music exchange. It was like a local store. I guess.
Yeah, they get a lot of cool shit. So.
Yeah, it's a Euro Shock version Blu-ray, and I was surprised that it's actually pretty well. It's pretty well made.
John Saxon, that throws me off. I know he's done a few weird things here and there, but Cannibal Apocalypse.
It's not a bit part. He's the star. He's the main cop who actually becomes a cannibal. And they're like human. They're not like zombies, and they're not like raving. It's not like a native thing. They're not trying to rip off or be racist. It's just like these army buddies who all get infected, and they infect each other, and then they just try to hide in the sewers.
So since they're
it's
army buddies,
ridiculous.
you think it's a spin on like Apocalypse Now?
Well, it's funny you should say that.
I don't know.
It's funny you should say that because I just looked it up to see if I can find it, and the only thing I can find is a Cannibal Apocalypse redo, like when they did the Apocalypse Now, and it's a documentary from 2002.
Oh yeah, that's totally what it is.
Totally.
Okay,
so it's Apocalypse Now with zombies.
That's all I can remember because
I just missed the message. We didn't even see it. We solved it for you.
There you go. Thanks, guys.
We're detectives. I honestly, when you said the title, I thought it was just like the world's ending and like some dude just like, well, gotta eat people.
Gotta eat people. Yeah. John Saxon's got to eat everybody.
Fuck, I'm let down.
No,
John Saxon.
That's good.
That's thumbs
up.
He
do it with his kung fu.
No, there's no kung fu. Well, I can't remember. Maybe.
So this next one's like one of your guys' things, right? Don't both of you like this movie?
I'm not a big fan of the
Boogans. It's people talk about it like they do Spookies, but it's not even close to as good as Spookies is.
Spookies is shit on pretty badly.
Yeah, it is pretty shit.
But since it's got his Blu-ray release, everybody's like, "Oh, I went and bought it. Oh, I saw it on." I think Joe Bob actually did an episode.
He did. I got.
I think Derek talked about this. Maybe not last episode, but recently about like anything Joe Bob says. There's certain people who are just like, "Yep, let's go."
Yeah, and that happened recently too. They showed the shot on video things.
That's it.
And they showed things in Sledgehammer, right? And my whole thing was everybody's like, "Oh, this piece I can't get through it." I'm like, "Yeah, if you haven't seen these two movies, you don't like shot on video. So there you go. You don't like the genre. You know, that's the thing.
These are the two of the better ones.
Yeah, these are two like movies that shot on video fans love to watch because they're intentionally fucking goofy.
They're ridiculous.
They always try to sell it like, Joe Bob does it like very deadpan, talking like, yeah, they knew what they were trying to make a serious movie. The guy that made Things was not trying to make a serious movie. Like he embraces that shit all the time when people talk shit about him. But on the other end, it's like Spookies. He showed Spookies the week before, and he shit on it. And he gave it like 2 stars or whatever.
Yeah.
But everyone I've ever talked to that's watched Spookies as a kid loves Spookies.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And once you like find out more about it,
stupid.
it makes it even better. It's like, oh, this was just 2 movies and they just added all this shit together. Great. This is amazing.
Now we're talking about Boogans.
Boogans I did not watch.
And I had to write this. Stephen King must have been handed a lot of money to put his line on the VHS because he was doing Evil Dead, which is actually good. And then this one he said, it's wildly energetic. Monster movie.
Haven't we had this conversation about King before, though? Doesn't he do this a lot? Like, I feel like there's a lot of Stephen King.
It's from a buck, things.
Man.
He needs a Coke.
Is it possible when he said wildly energetic, he meant his cocaine?
Oh, my. Yeah, he's wildly energetic.
You think it's like at a convention, if you hand like a actor like your movie, like, hey, man, can you check out my indie film? And you ask them how it was like a month later and they never watched it. And they're like, wildly energetic. What's some generic shit I can put together? And then you're like, can I use that on the box? They're like, get the fuck away from me. Sure, go away.
Security.
Sure you can.
That probably happened to Stephen King a lot in the 80s and 90s. And that's where we get all these quotes and shit. I mean, I guarantee if we go through these VHSs you have back here, we can find about 3 or 4.
Oh, the Stephen King just quotes like, wildly energetic.
Like, especially if you have his own movies. He's like, wildly energetic, The Stand. Gary Sinise, the fucking man.
Speaking of
Blue
the
Oyster
box,
Cult, fuck yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. That's actually a decent beginning of a film. But it's funny that you talked about The Stand. Everyone was talking about The Stand so much, the new one that came out. And then when it came out, you just like nothing.
Nothing, yeah, because they remembered what The Stand is.
Yeah, it's a big Bible story.
It's a big Bible story, and it's a little boring.
Very long.
I mean, the 90s were a good time for those TV movies and shit. You know, watch fucking 4 episodes of a movie. It doesn't work so much these days. But get back to this fucking Boogerins.
Boogerins. Speaking of the box, I wrote down the back of the box.
Yes, tell me that, please.
Okay.
I'm surprised you don't own it to where we can just read it.
I looked and I thought I did.
Tell me about these piece of shit aliens.
In a small town near Denver, 2 young men begin to explore a long-abandoned old mine recently reopened by a group of miners. Yeah, that makes sense. When one of the men is discovered missing, that doesn't make sense to me. His friends begin to search that leads to tell them the search that leads them to horrifying consequences they are all unaware of the evil. What?
That was discovered missing.
Right.
I would not watch this movie.
It's badly written. I wrote it, I swear, just like it's written. The evil has been unleashed, and soon they will confront the unknown in order to save their lives and the entire town.
So it's got puns, and it was written by a 3rd grader.
I don't know, man. I even added commas where they were, and it just didn't make sense to me. I was like, okay.
I started it. It wasn't happening for me. That was one of them. I was like, you know what? We got so many movies in 81. I'm not doing this to myself.
Not even need it.
Yeah. So, sorry, fans of this, because I'm sure there's like some group of the boogies or whatever they're fucking called that love it. But it's dog shit.
I put The Entity on there, but
what is that?
It's been found on a lot of 81's list, but I discovered, because when it came out, obviously I didn't see it when it came out. It was released in 83. So I don't know if it was one of those that was made. And
your original list was wrong, too, because you put Piranha 2 on there.
Right.
And maybe it comes out in 82.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I had to take it off because a lot of the lists have it on there, and it says, I was like, wait a second. I rewatched that movie last night, and I was sitting on the sofa saying, wait a second.
I think Piranha 2 is on the Wikipedia list. If you pull like horror from 81,
it is. It is, and it's wrong. But I've got plenty of notes about it, so we'll talk about it some other time.
Yeah, no, I did too, man. And then
save those notes.
Yeah.
We'll need it for Piranha 2.
Well, I mean, it's been a month since we've done the first 81 episode, so I did like a refresher on some of the movies, and I was like, wait a second, this is made in, it was not even released in 81, so delete.
Yeah, and you can't trust like streaming services either because they just lie all the time.
Yeah, I didn't notice it until I wrote everything down. I was like, motherfucker, that says 82.
Yeah.
Right. So the same with Piranha 2, The Entity was not released in 81, so skip.
So fuck it. So what's this? I can't see that far.
Same thing with The Alchemist. It's on the top of a lot of a list because it obviously starts with A.
Yeah,
that was 84? Not released until 84. Sorry, Alchemist.
Oh, we'll just skip past that one,
hop on Wikipedia and fix this shit.
Yeah. It's publicly ran. So
Full Moon High.
Full Moon High.
I have not really seen it, but you have the box in front of you.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it either. I thought this was Teen Wolf, but it's tough being a teenager, turning into a werewolf every full moon. That's not even punny or anything.
It's like Big Wolf on campus.
I own it. I still haven't watched it.
But I'll tell you this right now: 4 stars. Good, hairy fun, says Blockbuster Entertainment Guide. Probably written by Stephen King.
For $1.
Yeah, this is too much. I'm not going to read all this, but it's just the problem of a typical high school teenager. What? The problems of a typical high school teenager take on monstrous proportions in his comical free spirit send-up of horror movies from the legendary cult film creator Larry Cohen. I like Larry Cohen.
Yeah.
I can't fucking see anymore, guys.
I don't want to read it anymore. My eyes says stop.
Yeah, I'll just read the very end. Non-stop gags, a dynamic ensemble of eccentric characters, and hilarious comedic turns by McMahon and Adam Arkin's real-life father, Alan Arkin. There you go.
So he's just a teenager that also turns into a werewolf.
It's literally like Teen Wolf. I mean, yeah, but it's like way before Teen Wolf.
What's that rated?
A couple years. It's rated PG.
Yeah, never mind.
It actually got a lot of people who they talk about that movie because it's the 4th werewolf movie released this year.
That year,
it gets the least amount of coverage. People talk about.
I wonder
why.
I wonder
on a
why.
lot of lists, but I don't hear people actually going to people don't talk about it when we talk about werewolf movies in '81.
Wait a minute, his plans soon change when his ultra right-wing dad, played by TV icon Ed McMahon. Now I gotta watch it. I'm glad I went to the middle here.
Hey-o.
Ed McMahon was the guy that would throw giant checks at old people, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's my guy.
He just show up at your door and just throws fucking checks at you.
Yeah, I remember I would check the mail and my mom would get mad at me because I'm like, I want all these magazines. Because there's always like the clearinghouse thing.
Yeah, that's it. Publishers Clearinghouse.
That's what it was. Yeah,
and he was also on was it the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson?
Oh yeah, they credit him with the Tonight Show on the back, but I was like, that's not Jay Leno.
Oh, this is the original. That's how it's why he's dead.
The only time I've ever watched the original Johnny Carson is that Hulk Hogan interview. Every now and then I'll go back to that because it's just funny. He's a Hulkamania brother before he was in WWF.
So he was all roided out.
He's like, this is like Thunder Lips Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
So the chair looks like an elementary school chair when he sits in it. It's pretty fucking funny and awkward.
Oh,
What's next?
So next one is the Prowler, man.
Yeah, directed by Joe Zito, written by 6 fucking people.
What?
Which is pretty cool because it's a pretty coherent film.
6 brilliant people.
Yeah, starring Vicky Dawson as Pam. And for years, I thought she was the blonde in Pumpkinhead until I did some research on this episode. Let's see. Christopher Goutman is.
Why would you think that?
Because she looks just like her.
Because they look the same. They're blonde.
Christopher Goutman is the Richard Hatch Apollo guy from he looks like Battlestar Galactica Apollo. Remember that?
Hey, not
show?
to rewind too much. I finally found my note on the Boogans.
The Boogans.
It just says, I don't want to watch this.
Fair enough.
Oh my god.
So yeah, that's where I was at with that.
Anyways,
back to fucking Prowler.
One of Tom Savini's most proud movies. He loves the effects he did in this movie.
Oh, the Prowler. Yeah, we'll definitely get to that because I want to talk about some Tom Savini shit. Farley Granger is the sheriff of this town, and I guess we'll just spoil it. Fuck it.
Well, so going with the opening scene, I mean, the couple's it's that stab through with the pitchfork. Mm-hmm. That's pre-Friday 13th.
This is what I was going to get to. Perfect.
We hinted at it last time, but we didn't want to go into the Prowler. But was this before Friday the 13th with the whole the couple? Because that becomes a staple for Jason Voorhees.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like that's the first time it was done on film that I've seen. And it's very cute.
You're probably right. I mean, this
good way to go out.
This movie is very similar to My Bloody Valentine. The storylines are pretty similar.
I think with Friday the 13th, it kills a little more, not that it fucking matters, but realistic, because the pitchfork going through 2 bodies seems like a lot to me. The giant pole and the fucking whatever the fuck else Jason uses, more practical.
Just whatever he can find.
But I love that opening scene. It's just like, fuck it. This guy shows up in all black and just stabs through these motherfuckers, and now we're in 1980.
Friday the 13th Part 2 came out first.
Okay,
so my thinking was, this is what I wanted to talk about, so I had to check the date real quick. I thought that he was just saying fuck you to that movie because there's the pitchfork scene with the rat, just like where she hides under the bed.
Yes.
And then the pitchfork breaks in half and she uses it. I was like, is he being like, fuck you, Friday the 13th franchise? And then what you just talked about, it's totally, he has to be, he cannot be.
Just kind of tell them to fuck themselves?
Yeah. Because, that whole crew was like, there's not going to be a Friday the 13th Part 2. Fuck you guys. And then they offered him Friday the 13th Part 2, and then he's like, no, I'm going to do this movie, The Prowler. I know he did The Burning and then did the Prowler.
Both of which are superior to most Friday the 13th movies.
It's true. I love Friday the 13th Part 2, but I can't
watch
The Prowler and not see some of those scenes and go, wait a second.
I've always liked The Prowler. Because it's like a horror movie Footloose. It's like, you can't dance here anymore. If you dance, murder will happen.
It's an evil Footloose.
I mean, that's the whole thing. They're like, we haven't had a dance in 45 years. If you dance, people will die.
It's just like, so if John Lithgow was just killing people.
Jesus, it's the same movie.
Well, holy hands.
That would be so much better if the Prowler was Kevin Bacon showing up to that town. I'm like,
Let's
no, guys,
dance!
we're going to fucking dance. There's people getting stabbed to I Need a Hero.
You don't know, but the outside of this building's on fire. So the guy who played the Prowler never
Kevin
got
Bacon.
credit.
Really?
He didn't get credit. His name is Peter Giuliani, and he became a producer of movies like Collateral, Toys, Sphere, and The Birds of Prey show.
Is that the creepy mayor guy?
No, the guy who actually played the
Oh, I
Prowler
thought you were
in
talking
the
about
hood.
Rudy Giuliani. I'm sorry. I was thinking
With the leaking hair.
Yeah, I was like, that's probably why he wasn't credited. They're like, fuck that.
There's a lot of actors in this movie. Like I said about the main
a lot of actors in every
a lot
movie.
of actors people knew at one time, and that was kind of like a staple of the '80s. Is like taking older cowboy actors or whatever and putting them in movies to make them like give the movie a little bit more
Tourist
weight.
Trap.
Right. Oh,
Rifleman.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like Halloween, all these things. Lawrence Tierney is in this film. He's the old man in the wheelchair who's a piece of shit, and he was a piece of shit in real life. He was jailed so many times during his early Hollywood days that they just stopped hiring him for any movies. He shot his nephew on the set while filming Reservoir Dogs, and they had to bail him out to finish Reservoir Dogs.
And when you say shot, you mean like actually shot him with a bullet?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't mean he shot him on the set, but while filming that movie,
That would've been even
that
better.
actually happened.
He was just like, fuck
They're
you,
like, well,
nephew.
we gotta get this
Tarantino's
piece of
getting
shit.
really fucking meta now, just shooting people.
Tarantino has a story in one of the special features, I think, on the Reservoir Dogs about how much he hated working with Lawrence Tierney, but he was a legend. There you go.
Well, you should just suck it up.
Prowler,
Be like
everybody.
Werner Herzog.
For as
and
much
just
as I
try to
like,
kill him.
for as much as I like the Prowler, it is like it's a bad murder mystery because it's blatantly obvious who the killer's going to be the whole time.
I'll be back.
They
You
bring
don't
up
see him the whole movie.
and then the rest of the movie, like the whole time he's gone, they bring up the sheriff. Like, well, can't phone him. And then the one guy, like the worst hotel clerk ever, answers the phone. He's like, nope, he's not here. They're like, can you check? Yeah. He sets the phone down and just like, I don't forgot what he does. Maybe jerks off or something. And it comes back 5 minutes later. He's just like, yep, he's not here. That's one of my favorite scenes because that dude could have prevented so much.
I know.
Just that lazy fuck would have been like, yeah, he's not in his room, so he's probably out murdering all your friends. Go get him. Case solved.
Joe Zito and Tom Savini teamed up again for Friday the 13th, Part 4. And it actually, that movie, as well as this one, has a Carrie ripoff ending. Well, they cut it out of Part 4 at the end where, the mom comes back at the end. But I think everyone now is seeing that scene that has been cut out where the mom just disappears. She walks out in Friday the 13th Part 4 and then she disappears. And then you don't see her again. In the special features, there's actually a scene of her like coming back to life for no fucking reason whatsoever.
Is there really?
Yes. I'm not kidding. But this also has a
hate
Carrie
this
ripoff
genre.
thing. Welcome to slasher films.
Why do I
everybody.
watch this shit? I love it and I hate it at the same time. I did like the prom band, Nowhere Fast. They're kind of fun.
Did you see if they had a band camp? Did you find any of their music?
They are on YouTube. They do have like a
my
YouTube.
God.
So you can find some of their songs on YouTube. I do have like every movie. We try to do that with Things. When we watched Things the other night, we're trying to look up that band.
Oh, Tailspin?
Tailspin, yeah. But you can find covers of it, but you can't find the actual song. But you can find like losers in their basement with their fucking, I knew the acoustic version of Tailspin. So 300 nerds will clap for you.
So we got
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead's the next movie.
What's the Evil Dead? What is that?
I don't know. I think
It's have you ever seen Reading Rainbow? Sort of like that, but
Do
then
I
zombies.
look like I've seen Reading Rainbow? Do you see how hard it was to get through this back of this cover?
I think we've talked about Evil Dead quite a bit.
We had a whole Bruce Campbell episode, and I was thinking, is there anything to say about this movie that hasn't either been said by us or
Everybody else in the world?
It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one, man. The only thing, like everyone knows, like the Coens helped edit this movie. Who's all starring in? What was going on? How their names are changed because there's SAG issues. All these things, like the fake shimps, the special effects. Everyone knows it all.
How they beat the shit out of Bruce Campbell, and that's how he really got his break. They're like, this guy will do fucking anything.
The one thing I did find is I myself did not know is that it did get prosecuted as a video nasties, as most of these movies did, and it was the reason because how many times they had to go to court and it was guilty. This is the movie that stopped Sam Raimi from making ultra violent films, and that's why everything became orange and green and ridiculous, over the top.
81 video nasty is a lot different than like if you're like a 91 video nasty.
Yeah, and then
There's levels to this shit.
there are 6 DVD releases between Anchor Bay and Elite Entertainment in the
There's
90s.
only 6? Oh, in the 90s.
Yeah, the 90s.
Okay, as I say, holy fuck, dude.
No, man.
I have probably 6 or 7.
I've got a lot.
And I'm picky about the ones I pick up.
I know.
It's just, they get me every time.
But there's not a whole lot we can say about this that hasn't been said. God damn it, Evil Dead.
That's Evil Dead. I mean, for a lot of us, it started our love for this genre in general. I mean, I've talked to a billion different people that, that's the franchise that got them into it. And someone like me, younger, I watched Army of Darkness on TV. Like, we've talked about that before, and I had to go backwards with this shit. But it really did draw me into all this
Same here,
shit,
man. Same here. I saw Army of Darkness in the drive-in, then had to go find the videotapes.
Yeah, I saw part 2 first.
Yeah, I saw Army of Darkness Part 2, and then I found the first one.
Yeah, and that's normal. Nowadays, people shit on you for, like I was talking about at the beginning of the show, is like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, man, we didn't have it. You're always talking about seeing it on television, late night TV.
Yeah, seeing it on TV. Yeah.
I saw Friday the 13th Part 3 first. It's just how it works.
Yeah, that's the best way too. To me, as like a kid, is also seeing it on TV. Because then when I finally rent it, I'm like, titties.
These weren't in the TNT version.
Like when you're like a 12-year-old and you've been watching this, like, every Friday the 13th, every Halloween, all these horror movies come on, and then suddenly you decide to rent them, even though you've seen it a billion times. One day you go to the video store and the shit you want's not there, so you're like, fuck it, I'm going to rent this movie. It's just comfort food. And then all of a sudden, it's like, my comfort food has extra blood and titties. This is awesome.
I love the size on this fucking
Because I remember when that happened to me, I'm like, oh, I got to rent everything I've ever watched on TV. Sometimes you'd be let down. You rent like Tremors. You're like, fuck, it's just Tremors.
It's just Tremors.
You're just really hoping there's titties in movies that you just had no clue about.
Just every fucking movie I ever watched, I'm like, oh, probably should just rent like Magic School Bus. Like, I fucking see what,
more acid in that.
Let's just see what happens.
Like, your teenage brain you think everything's cut to death for TV, which a lot of it was. Even though, like, the 90s were the boom for Monster Vision and USA Up All Night and all that shit, but they still cut it up.
Yeah, they did.
Rhonda Shear can show her tits, but you can't show them in the movie.
Rhonda Shear, holy shit. She's like the third host of that show.
Yeah, so for me, like, as my age range, it was Gilbert Gottfried and Rhonda Shear. I know there was a host, like, before that.
Commander USA.
Commander USA.
Yeah.
Was that an actual human?
Yes. Yeah.
You say that, I think of like the small soldiers guy.
Yeah. He mainly did like light stuff, and then when they moved him to the nighttime stuff, is like then they kind of realized like this is not the right guy. It's fun. He's dressed up in like superhero. So he smokes a fuck. He looks kind of like the mix between the comedian and Doctor Strange.
So did they have like an MTV VJ type of thing that they were going for, trying to pick up on the steam that MTV had going for them?
Yeah, and then Gilbert Gottfried.
They got Gilbert Gottfried be like, hey, your voice is annoying. Come out here and talk about movies.
I know, but he always showed that. So what's cool about Gilbert is he always showed the party movies. So he would show like Party Camp and all this shit that like
Party Nerds.
Also, if I rented those,
titties.
There's like so much sex in those. You had like these crazy expectations for what like a college field trip was.
Let's see what we got next.
We got Strange Behavior, which I've never seen.
I have no idea what that is.
I just wanted to mention it because I know there's people out there who love this kind of films.
They're going to yell at us.
And then I put Enter the Ninja because I love that movie, but I don't think we should dig into it because it's not horror, but fuck, it's awesome.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
But
I really wish I'd have watched that instead of the next one.
The Pit.
The Pit.
Dude, come on. The Pit is so much. There's so much to The Pit.
It's fun. It's got layers. It's got trogs. It's got a creepy kid.
I wrote down.
It's got Julie Brown.
Yes,
no, wait. Is that the one with Julie Brown? Or am I thinking of the other movie? No. That was another movie we covered earlier.
I wrote down.
Your thought process
I thought it had the
wild.
weirdest openings that I have never watched. Let's see. I thought it had one of the weirdest openings that I'd ever watched. Much like the episodes of this podcast, it starts without any explanation.
No, it starts
in the face.
Yeah, it starts in a like a scene in the like.
That
20
happens
minutes
in the middle of the movie. Yeah.
You guys, I know. I was just like, what? Didn't I just see this fucking scene already again? What? You watch it your way, and I'll watch it mine.
Yeah.
Let's just like the quickest rundown of this. So we'll just say what it's about, and then we'll just kind of fill in a few gaps here. So there's this little shithead kid that gets picked on a lot. And he's kind of like Bob from the previous movie in a lot of ways. If you've ever seen Ted. If you've seen a shitty comedy Ted, this is horror movie Ted because it's this kid with this fucking teddy bear that tells him to do things. But the bear never really talks, but it's insinuated that this kid's hearing things from this bear. And he discovers this pit that has these boogans in it. Or the
trogs. And he can't even say, like, he finds out that they're trogs and he calls them the tralalas. And you're like,
I thought he was saying troglodytes for a while.
Well, they are troglodytes, but he says tralalas.
I don't know what any of these
Also,
words
he's
mean.
got the 80s equivalent of a chili bowl haircut. Continue.
He's got the chili bowl. So essentially, what starts happening is he discovers that these little monster dudes live in a pit that they can't get out of because I guess they don't have any upper body strength. So he just starts feeding people. Thanks.
I can't remember if they tell him to do that or how he just figures like,
no, the teddy bear does.
No,
that's
right. He tells him to feed him. He throws him like snack cakes and Little Debbie's, but it doesn't work until he actually throws a Little Debbie down the well.
I was surprised at the special effects actually.
And he wears a fucking turtleneck.
Well, the little turtle monsters.
No, they look cool. They do look cool.
Yeah, Dennis is shaking his head. Dennis is recording this tonight. He's like, no,
the kids.
You're wrong, Steve.
The kill scenes in this movie, like. The one girl is so fucking dumb. Like, he steals her bike, and he's taking off with it, and she's just like, whoop. You can see that big hole.
That's half the kills in the movie. He just tricks people into falling into a fucking hole.
Well, he's like 7.
All right, so his mother's out of town. So this lady's watching him for I don't know, like fucking 12 months or something like that.
Which, by the way, do you like washing me?
Yeah. That's a weird scene.
Yeah, when she's like, this lady who's watching him, which is weird anyway, that she's in like the bathroom with him, like scrubbing him down in the bathtub like he's an 80-year-old.
Got to be like 13
man.
or 14 or something.
Yeah,
12.
he's not young enough for this situation. And he looks dead at her. Do you like washing me?
Oh my God.
I would move.
It's very awkward. Yeah, she should have just left at that point. But like she has a boyfriend, and like he kills the fucking boyfriend. They're tossing a fucking football, and he runs for the ball.
I know.
And he just jumps into the fucking hole.
Well, I don't look at my feet when I'm catching a ball.
The wheelchair kills the best because when he's pushing the wheelchair, there's like Looney Tunes music fucking playing. And I'm like, why is this happening? This movie's supposed to be like dark and weird, and there's just like this zany fucking music.
And nobody fucking notices. All these people are fucking disappearing. And they're just like,
bodies,
what's going on?
I don't know.
He steals an old lady in a wheelchair. He just talked about it.
And he tells the babysitter point blank, he's like, hey, I'm killing people. And she's like, no, you're not. He's like, you want to go see my pit? Like, as soon as you say that, I'm like, all right, I believe you. You're killing people, dude. And she still follows him. And then, she slips.
Yeah, and
she literally just slips.
She dies. And like the whole movie is this kid throwing people into a pit with these little troglodytes. But at the end of the movie, he ends up going to live with his grandmother.
Oh yeah.
And there's a little girl there next door, and she's like, "You want to play with me?" And they go off, and they're running through the woods, and there's a fucking pit there too.
Yeah, and she just coincidence, bye, buddy, and pushes him in.
And she pushes him in.
And just to go back just a little bit, so we can get the fuck off this movie. But before that happens, the way you think the story's supposed to end is the cops they build a search party. Like a Halloween 3 or whatever the fucking Halloween they did that in. Was it 5? Where they're like, oh, get a search party to hunt Michael Myers. That's what they do in this one. They're like, search party. We'll just bust a cap and all these motherfuckers.
Part 4.
Yeah, that's it. They just go shoot them.
Yeah.
Shoot him and fill the hole.
And he also sees the babysitter's ghost.
Yeah.
That was fucking weird.
I know
it's a weird thing to say about this movie. It's all weird.
If you dabble in shrooms or acid, watch The Pit. If not, fucking do something else. Literally anything else.
So from there,
The Pit.
We go to the Dark Knight of the Scarecrow.
From there, if you have problems sleeping, you can watch Dark Knight of the Scarecrow.
We've talked about this before, and Derek is not a fan. I don't think Dave is either.
No.
I'm the only one who liked this movie.
I guess if you saw it like when it came out,
that matters a lot sometimes.
It does.
Really does.
I totally understand it. We can skip it because I don't even have it really that's fine.
And I'll
Released
say,
on CBS. It was a big deal at the time.
The old man that made it was very nice. He was so nice that I didn't talk shit to him.
Wow.
After he made me watch his movie. Because remember, it was vanished for a while, and he released that DVD about 10 years ago. Yep. I was at the first convention he showed it at, and my buddy that was with me, Jake, this whole Gore Club shit, was there, and he's like, I love this movie. And I'm like, I don't believe that most of the time. That usually goes wild places. And plus I was drunk, so I sat in his room in a shitty chair watching this slow-paced made-for-TV.
Very slow-paced movie.
It was hard, but I felt so bad. I have it on Blu-ray.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I was like, man, he's so pumped about getting this released. I'm just gonna buy it.
That was the first time you were shamed into buying a movie, wasn't it?
I don't know. Yeah,
I doubt it.
I've
been support a lot of our friends.
I've bought some shit from conventions. I mean, been going to conventions for about 15 years now, and I've bought shit from indie people. Like I've literally seen somebody like behind their table a whole weekend not make $1, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy this motherfucker's movie. I'm going to talk to him about his movie for like 5 minutes and act like it's real, and I'm going to give him $10, and we're gonna go on for our lives. But after Dark Knight of Scarecrow, which we're not going to talk about anymore, it was on CBS. There you go. Halloween 2.
Halloween 2, which we have
talked about. We did a whole episode.
We did. It's the same thing with Evil Dead. I tried to find something that I might not have known about. Originally, it was supposed to be filmed in 3D. I didn't know that.
John Carpenter didn't like it.
They were going
Was there a 3D boom? at that time? I thought that came a little later.
It came like 2 years later with like Jaws and Amityville. This was actually originally supposed to be set in the future. Not like space, like cyborg fucking.
Like he's in space.
But it was supposed to be set a few years later, where like
Jason
Michael was
X.
going to stalk Laurie and her children, and like a high-rise apartment complex. Let's see. I remember. What else did I find?
That'd be kind of cool, like the raid.
Things. Just she's like
Michael Myers going
Laurie.
up. Yeah.
Or no, the opposite.
Michael Myers going up the steps. She's at the top floor.
Oh my God, she's the big boss.
Yeah.
Let's see. I also looked up. This kind of ticked me off a little bit. That I didn't know about. In the 30th anniversary edition that Universal had now bought the rights, they removed Mustafa Akkad's name off of the credits, opening credits, because they all said, presents, and it's always like
every single one of them. Yeah.
And that when they released the DVD or Blu-ray, I cannot remember which one it is. I just found it maybe a couple days ago, this information, and I was like, wow, that's fucked that they did that. And then of course he gets killed in a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
But he died. It was like happened around the same time they did this.
But Dave went back since, right?
Yes,
it's
all been
I feel like on my set, it's there.
It has been replaced.
Good. Yeah, because that's fucked.
It grossed more than most of these other films that are getting
probably
ready to
combined.
Go through. Yeah, it was actually a big thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's actually the first one that doesn't have like animal death. Halloween 2. Halloween has 2 where he eats the one where you found the little carcass and then he strangles the dog. So there you go.
That's animal death in this one.
Halloween 2.
Halloween 2.
For all you animal lovers out
Animals
there,
are safe.
Halloween 2.
No dogs die in the making of Halloween 2.
Let's see what's next. Shock
What
treatment.
about shock treatment? Do any dogs die in shock treatment?
They did when they watched it. I actually like the shock treatment. The only reason I put it on there is because I forgot that it came out in 1981. It's the kind of sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show. And then just go find it if you're a big fan of that movie. Let's move on.
All right. Galaxy of Terror. And why is there a question mark? Do you not know what day it came out?
No, I could not find an official release date because when you go on different sites, it either has nothing or it says a different one from the other site that says it has a date. So I was like, that's kind of strange.
This has Joni and no Chachi.
I know.
This movie has a lot of people in it. It's
Robert Englund, very early on.
Yeah, it's weird because if you look at like cast and crew, you've got Robert Englund, you've got Sid Haig. But I mean, as far as crew goes, James Cameron was the second unit director. Yeah. Bill Paxton was a set designer.
Oh, I didn't see that. Nice.
Set dresser in the movie. But this movie is.
Roger, I love this movie.
Roger Corman wanted to make Alien, and that's all you need to know.
Yeah, he had some money.
He had money. It was a very graphic movie.
Sid Haig playing just like a straight up badass is fantastic.
Oh, it is so good. And he's got his little weapons.
When he has to the arm cut off and then like the arm stabs you is the best fucking thing in the world. Like it has
with that weird like crystal shard.
Yeah, his crystal weapon.
It's like a crystal glaive, like from Krull.
Yeah, it's a brutal movie, man. I don't understand the rape scene or why it happens.
It was supposed to happen.
It was cut down.
Roger Corman redid it.
Well, Roger Corman wanted to do a certain way.
More.
Yeah, he wanted more, but it got cut down.
The actress was not happy when she saw it.
That really ruins like the feel of the whole because the movie's like really fun. Even the kills and shit, it's all just kind of fun, goofy sci-fi. 80s, and then that scene happens, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, why is this even? It doesn't fit any narrative at all.
And hired a body
It's
double.
literally like a giant maggot. By the way, like for those who haven't seen it, it's not like person on person. It's like this alien maggot
worm thing. Yeah.
Attacking this lady for like no reason. Doesn't do it to any other character. There's other women on the ship.
And
everything.
It's very Evil Dead, where it's like awful at the beginning, and then somehow she enjoys it at the end.
It gets
I was like,
weird.
Fuck, really?
Yeah.
He hired a body double to finish those scenes out to make them a little bit more graphic. Yeah.
Roger Corman?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
But that was cut. So though too, a lot of it was cut because the movie was originally rated X.
I bet.
And they had to cut a lot of the gore, and they had to cut that scene down. But all right, so we're jumping all over the place in this movie. But so this movie is basically, like I said, it's like Alien. These people they crash land on an alien planet, and there's this giant pyramid, and then when they get into the pyramid, the madness ensues. Really, I mean, it gets really
crazy. I mean, because there's no rules for this. I mean, because there's even like Robert Englund has to fight Robert Englund. You know, he gets cloned at one point
for some reason.
And what that does. Yeah. It does like it makes fake versions of your friends in that company.
It's your fear. I thought it was like your fear, right? It's dealing with like what your fears or what you would have nightmares about. So I guess she dreamed of maggots getting her, which is crazy. You got to get on some sleep medication, girl.
Some Ambien, maybe.
Yeah, you got Robert Englund gets killed by attacked by a clone of himself. He actually doesn't get killed by him. Joni, which is so crazy to me. That
Joni loves Chachi.
Gets her fucking head squeezed, like exploded.
She wanted that to happen because she knew that her scene was actually supposed to have a nude scene as well, and she was like, "I'm not doing it."
Yeah, it'll just blow my head up.
Yep.
You think
That's what I
somebody?
read, yeah.
I want to know who owns that mold of Joni's fucking head.
It's the same one they use in Friday the 13th Part 3 when he squishes the guy's head, his eyeball pops out.
Mr. Hand ends up being the master, is what I wrote.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Hand, right? Isn't that him?
It's like, was it Ray Walston or whatever his name is? I can't remember. Yeah.
I think he's Mr. Hand.
He's Mr. Hand.
Reveals that pyramid was ancient toy used to fight fear. So I did put that on here. So yeah, I make notes sometimes, man.
It's weird. It's like some sort of weird passing of the torch. But if you've never seen it, you should definitely watch it.
Totally watch it. I mean, kind of disregard the fucking maggot scene that shouldn't be there. But other than that, I love this movie. And it's my first time watching it in probably 5 years. But going back to it now, I'm getting a little less cynical as I get older, too. I liked it a lot. I thought it was awesome. I'll definitely revisit it more.
This is one.
Even though that scene.
That movie, it's exactly like you said. The older I get, the more I can appreciate it. But I always forget that rape scene when I hadn't seen it for years. It's like Evil Dead. You were watching Evil Dead, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, and Sam Raimi at least regrets it. You know, he's spoken against that scene here and there. And
Roger Corman definitely doesn't.
Roger Corman's probably like, he probably doesn't remember it. He's done so much shit. He's probably like, fuck, I don't know. I was drinking. I was like, oh, this is cool.
That was my 2000th movie. I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of times it's also, how can I get people to react? You know, how can I get them to react to this movie or talk about my movie? Oh, I can do that. Yeah, you can, but why?
No, don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure nobody bought the movie going, oh, it's going to have a maggot rape somebody.
That's not a
nobody.
good selling
Nobody
point.
was not
Maybe
surprised.
Someone, like one dude probably did.
We were talking about Italian films like a couple episodes ago,
Yeah.
and it's like a lot of Italian films are very rapey. It's like, you want to talk about Japanese animation? Like, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes
there's a market for it.
If it's like a serial killer movie and that's part of this like dude's demeanor and what they've done,
Humanoids from the Deep.
I can kind of understand it to an extent. But when you're taking like a movie like this where it has like no business being involved in it, it's just like
it's out of left field.
It'd be
It's
like if there was just like a gas station. Why is there a gas station there? In this pyramid. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's just there.
Well, I'm thinking, like, I just remember, like, Humanoids from the Deep it's about raping Gillman.
Yeah.
So I can't put it past it to do something like that.
But at least Humanoids from the Deep, that's the central to the plot.
Yeah.
This one's just like, oh yeah,
breeders, you know.
Yeah. I think when we talked about humanoids, it was like, maybe he just really hated Creature from the Black Lagoon. He's like, I'm going to ruin this motherfucker's reputation right now. And we had to wait until that Del Toro movie came out to fix it.
Absurd. Now,
Absurd. Oh yeah.
Dave was thinking that we had talked about this movie, and I don't remember.
Maybe we did. Maybe I mentioned it. I don't know.
We've mentioned it before because it's the sequel to Anthropophagus.
Anthropophagus.
It's part 2. It's a loose remake.
I can't spell that.
Joe D'Amato directed, written by George Eastman, stars in it. Same guy that was in Anthropophagus eating a baby.
He's done a lot of Django
These
films.
people do not know what time football games happen.
Wait, what?
That's his notes. It's like, that's bullshit. It's
A
not
running
realistic.
thing in this movie is that they mentioned the Super Bowl over and over, and it's like midnight, and they're constantly like getting ready for the Super Bowl. Like the first time, like the cop guy runs into like the killer, they're just like, there's Super Bowl. The Super Bowl's tonight, Pittsburgh Steelers. And then when they're all watching the Super Bowl in his family's house, they're eating spaghetti. Who has a Super Bowl party and they're like, I made spaghetti.
I know maybe it's before
Me
the
now.
wings became
That's
a
what we're
thing.
doing.
It's the weirdest fucking thing. It throws me off every time. I've seen this movie like 2 or 3 times, but it really came out when I'm trying to like pay attention for a podcast, and they're constantly going like, it's a big night. The Rams and the Steelers are going to be playing for the championship, and it's like 11 p.m.
What, some pasta?
Yeah, I don't know what time this is all, but Bleeding Man, hospitalized, and Super Bowl is what I put there.
Yeah,
That's a great note.
So
George Eastman
plays the killer in this, and
he's in
it's
Porno Holocaust. Which
he's in Porno Holocaust.
Yeah.
He helped write that one too, and D'Amato helped. He directed it. So D'Amato is his second movie this year. He did a porn that's fucking weird, and then this one that's actually pretty good.
I was surprised how good it is when I went back and watched
this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I like this movie.
It's got a lot of cool kills, man, and like the eyeball stuff in this one too. Like,
yeah, the dialogue kills me sometimes on it, and just some of the things that happen, like him just waking up in that hospital room and just grabbing a drill and just like, gotcha, nurse, and then just walks
Gotcha.
and I'm pretty sure this is the one where he pours the acid on her face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, this has got like a ton of kills, and it's set in
extremely
California.
graphic.
Just for my time thing, I did make a note that it is supposed to be set in California, by the way. So in California, it's nighttime. Super Bowl, if the Super Bowl was on in California during the night, that means everywhere else it's on at like midnight or 1 a.m.
It's on in the morning.
And they're like, hey, it says spaghetti.
It's a spaghetti.
California.
I know what we're doing for Super Bowl this year, Derek.
I want to go to like BW3s and be like, you guys got any spaghetti?
Get some meatballs. But the movie's really good. I really like that the fact that like
You want to try to explain the plot?
no,
Like if you could do it like in one paragraph?
yeah, the guy's a monster, but he doesn't wear makeup and he just fucking kills people.
It's a failed science experiment,
Yeah.
Yeah,
essentially.
it reminds me of the what's the Chuck Norris one where he's basically fighting Michael Myers. We talked about it on the show.
Firewalker.
Yeah, that's fucking great. But it's not that one. It's fuck. It doesn't matter. And he's basically fighting Michael Myers. It's like an unstoppable thing. And that's the thing about this movie. I thought that like the guy who was chasing him is very Sam Loomis.
He is. Yeah, he's totally Sam Loomis.
Yeah.
He's the one that first brings up the Super Bowl.
This guy's unstoppable, man.
Yeah, I mean, he shows up at the hospital to explain like what the guy is, and no one believes him. They're like, "Who the fuck are you?" Yeah, but he's the guy that also caused this issue because he's the one that I think ran the experiments, right? Don't they explain that he escaped? They're just this thing where you can live forever or whatever they're trying to do.
Silent Rage.
It makes
just
you
popped in
evil.
my head. That's the Chuck Norris movie where he fights Michael Myers.
And there's, like I said, there's no makeup on the guy. He just looks like a normal dude.
Yeah, just a normal dude murdering the shit out of people.
Just, I'll fucking throw you over this fence.
He's the only thing that connects the movie from the first film that's supposed to be a sequel to. That's it.
Yeah.
This is the one where the girl's supposed to be like handicapped the whole movie, and then suddenly she's not. like they said she's got some kind of weird back problem to where like walking would just make her fall apart and there's no way she can do it. And then like the last 30 minutes of the movie she's like, well, fuck that, I'm getting up.
I'm okay.
And she was like perfectly fine.
Maybe she was on workman's comp and she was trying to get money out of him, but she
Yeah.
realized it's not worth it because she's
She
going to get
realized-
Gonna
murdered.
rat her out.
She realized there's a killer putting the fucking babysitter in the oven.
Fuck this
Like,
place.
that dude's fucking crazy.
I can run all of a sudden.
That scene goes a little long. If you've never seen this movie, there's about 8 minutes of this dude trying to ram this lady into an oven. And she's just pushing away and screaming the whole time as her face slowly melts like you're baking like a corn dog.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun
Yeah,
to watch.
It's a good scene, but it's just very weird because it really does last a long fucking time. You're like,
It's very
"This killer?"
uncomfortable to watch, but
Remember the ending reminds me of basically the first 4 Halloween movies all put together, besides part 3.
Like yeah.
Yeah, it's like Halloween 1, 2, and 4. The ending, I was like, well, okay.
The ending
We
was
keep seeing these movies that have kind of like they're like, oh, that's influenced by this movie. And this
doesn't
is,
she just walk out holding his head or some shit?
yeah. But,
Yeah.
but the lead up to that reminded me of like that part from Halloween 4 where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's a transference of evil, and then like he shoots him and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, I see that. So I don't know. I just see that kind of shit. I just put it all together in my own little
Yeah, I don't
fucked up
believe in
nerd
that
head.
shit.
We just talked about it at the Prowler.
Yeah.
It's like, I think no, fuck it.
No, it serves good though. It's one of those just like if you want just a good gore fest where it's like pretty much fucking nonstop. I mean, this
Oh,
dude
yeah.
just goes and murders the shit out of everybody while other people eat spaghetti and watch football. It's absurd.
and it's on Tubi. If you can't find it anywhere, it's on Tubi.
It is on Tubi, and then we jump to November, which I guess Friday the 13th in November, right? If it was November 13th,
Yeah.
Dead and Buried, which this one I had never seen before.
It's another one that I'd watched for the first
One
time.
of you
Yeah.
put in our group chat like, "Hey, this is actually pretty good." And I'm like, "Well, fuck, I guess I'll put that on my list."
I was
And
super surprised.
I was shocked. I love this movie. It's like one of my new favorites from the 80s now. You want to try to explain that one, though?
I'll do a quick thing,
do a quick
and then I'll let
breakdown.
Derek. You challenged him to watch it to see how his reaction is. So I'll just say it's directed by Gary Sherman, Poltergeist 3 and the Poltergeist: The Legacy, written by Dan O'Bannon. Parentheses
Comes up a lot.
and Rob Shusett with Robert Englund in early row, Lisa Blunt, Melody Anderson, who's in like Flash Gordon, Firewalker, another Chuck Norris movie. It's got Grandpa Joe from like fucking Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
Jack
Factory.
Albertson.
Yeah, exactly. James what's his name? Fiorentino is the sheriff, who's kind of like the hero, and then you got Stan Winston, who fucking kills it with the special effects in this movie.
Yeah,
man.
no, they're awesome.
This was prosecuted as a video nasty, but it was acquitted. So that's pretty awesome. This is one of the ones that took a long time for me to watch because it just had the same. Like the VHS cover is just kind of plain. It's like, is this a sci-fi movie?
Very plain.
It's the writer of Alien. I'm like, I'll watch it, whatever. And it's just the same. They've never changed that fucking cover. And then when I bought it on DVD, I'll rewatch it. It's like, oh fuck, I missed out for 30 years on a great movie.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that I hadn't seen.
Yeah,
and
tell us,
you
Dave.
put it in the chat. So this movie. It starts off pretty quick. Like this guy's like taking pictures of a seashore, and this lady's like, "Oh, take pictures of me,"
pretty.
and she takes off her top, which is, somebody's gonna die, and
titties and death.
a bunch of people just come out of nowhere and just fucking burn him alive.
And that's the great twist to the start of the movie is that you think either like this chick's crazy and she's just gonna stab him, she's setting him up, or this guy's crazy. And instead it's, oh no, the whole town just shows up to murder this dude right at the beginning. So you instantly know like this is different from what you would normally see.
Yeah.
Especially in 81.
It's got a very Twilight Zone feel to it as well.
Yeah. Well, Lisa Blount was the main actor in John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. She's Titty Girl. She's just blonde in this movie, yeah. I won't refer to her as Titty Girl anymore. I'm just saying that's how we just talked about her. Yeah, I was like, oh shit, where do I know this woman's face? Carry on, Dave.
So you meet a lot of the people in it. You meet the sheriff. They find this body and they find it in a car and like, oh, it's been in a car wreck, but it's all burned up. And turns out the guy's not dead. Well, you come in the corner, which is Uncle Joe or Grandpa Joe, right? Yeah. who from watching the Joe Bob episode found out he had cancer while he was making this movie.
Yeah.
This is the last movie he made. So that's fucking sad. But I'm not gonna go through the whole,
sometime.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go through the whole plot of the movie.
Yeah, the easiest way to explain it is, hey, the guy dies at the very beginning, gets killed by the whole town. 2 scenes later, you see him as the cab driver. So you instantly know something's going on in this movie. So it turns out the people that are being murdered are also being reanimated. So they give you like a double whammy. You got a town of killers, but they're also bringing everybody back.
Yeah, and the cop doesn't believe it. He's like, what the fuck? But
yeah, these aren't like flesh-eating zombies. There's something else going on in this town. It's very Lovecraftian. Obviously, Dan O'Bannon is heavily influenced by Lovecraft in most of the stories he writes. And you can definitely see it in this kind of seaside town in New England. And everything is very Lovecraft.
Lots of cool kills.
Yeah, it's not your traditional zombie fucking piece of shit.
No, it's like more of like a detective story, but with like some really cool kills because you're still trying to figure out who's actually causing all this. And it has a Shyamalan style twist at the end, so I won't give that away either. If you haven't seen it, fucking watch it. It's on Shudder right now. You can even watch it with The Last Drive-In if you want Joe Bob's commentary on it. That's the episode I haven't seen yet of this year, so I'm excited to go back and visit that.
Yeah. One thing that really was weird about the movie, and I've just got to talk about the scene. There's a scene where the teacher is teaching the kids. And she's in the classroom. And she's talking about fucking voodoo and like reanimating corpses and stuff like that. And I'm just like, what kind of fucking school is this?
Yeah, it's like this is the Wicker Man.
Like even in the 80s, they would have burned you for that.
I know. Horror movies like they'll always do that though. They always have like teachers talk about shit you would never hear them talk about. Like even like urban legend, the professor's like, here's every urban legend ever. Let's talk about it.
It's
like,
a great fucking course.
Yeah, shit that doesn't happen in real life because I would like school a lot more. And I would have been able to read the back of that cover.
This was a very early Stan Winston movie, and he kills it. Like I said earlier, there's a scene, I'm not giving anything away, where it's an autopsy scene, or like it's actually they're reconstructing this woman's head. That's Stan Winston, literally his hands, and it's a what do you call it, time lapsed, and he's rebuilding this skull. And he does it in reverse, and he did it all like as you see it. That was amazing. I found that out, and I was like, what the fuck? So I had to go back and rewatch that whole scene, and it's beautiful. Carry on.
All the special effects in this are great.
Yeah, they really are.
But yeah, just fucking watch it. We don't have a lot of time to stay on Dead and Buried. You can do a whole 3-hour episode about it. Do Joe Bob. We'll pull a Joe Bob and just do a commentary over it.
Like Horror 101's a great podcast. They literally just watch the movies, record themselves talking about them, and then they just re-edit it later. Have
they did Dead and Buried before?
I don't know. I'll have to find out. But I love that podcast.
What's Road Games?
Road Games. I have not seen it. I've always remembered.
It's one that I was trying to find. Somebody brought it up recently, and I looked at it, and I'm trying to remember who was in it now. Steve,
I thought it was Jamie Lee Curtis, but I could be wrong. It's one of those movies I just could not find at the time. I could probably find it now. So that's why it's in
I know
red.
about Roadhouse. You want to talk about Roadhouse?
Yeah, it's Stacy Keach and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Okay. Yeah, I just remember the painting for the VHS. There's a couple movies like that I'm just like, I'll get to that later. And I just never do.
Stacy Keach and Jamie Lee Curtis star in his Hitchcockian thriller about the games people play on the open road.
Yeah, it's like Mad Max.
Keach is an eccentric truck driver. Passes the time by creating imaginary lives for the people he sees. Families, hitchhikers, cyclists. He picks up a beautiful hitchhiker, Jamie Lee, who joins him in his game. There you go. In case you're wondering, there's some blurry shit on the back here, very low quality pictures, and there's a picture of a fire. This movie sucks, guys. Let's never watch this.
Speaking of box art, Don't Go in the Woods Alone is another one that everyone remembers. The box art. It's the blonde girl's head with like the wooden camp sign that says don't go in the world, don't go in the world, don't go in the woods alone.
Don't go in the world alone either.
Don't do it.
Just don't go anywhere.
I haven't revisited that one, so if you have, please tell us your commentary, tell us your ideas in that film.
Yeah,
I saw it once. I just remember, I wrote down one note: murdering in the woods.
I mean, I don't have to see it to fucking know that, buddy.
That's the only thing I heard.
What if there's no woods?
Just Before Dawn, The Butcher, the Baker, The Nightmare Maker. All these movies I couldn't find that movie, The Butcher, Baker, and The Nightmare Maker, but somebody else told me tonight.
It's on Shudder.
It's on
Shudder.
Shudder.
It's on Shudder.
Okay.
Because I mentioned earlier, and anybody wants to comment on this too, I'm kind of interested if you want to have a conversation at some point. It's got kind of a negative reaction due to apparently it's full of homophobic dialogue. I may go visit it at some point just to see, but I'm just interested. You don't see a lot of movies that from them cause any controversy in the horror community because we see so much vulgar, crazy shit. So it's kind of interesting to see a movie like that brought up consistently. So I am curious to see how awful it truly could be. I don't know what Just Before Dawn is though.
It's a slasher film.
Sounds like a zombie movie.
Yeah, it's one I was never was able to revisit, so I didn't even try to make notes on it or anything.
Yeah, we're getting into the end of.
I know a lot of people love it, so that's a good sign.
A lot of people love Just Before Dawn.
Yeah.
Let's see, Just Before Dawn.
Just Before Dawn.
VHS. That's just a picture of Pam Grier.
All right, sold.
That's all it take for us. Hey, you got Pam Grier? You got any good actresses? Oh my God, it's not even bringing up. Oh, George Kennedy, Chris Lemon, Jamie Rose. See, I don't know any of these fucking people. Oh, this looks like shit.
You know George Kennedy when you'd see him.
What?
Oh yeah, George Kennedy. He was the he was the guy from
he's in Creepshow.
Naked Gun.
He's in Naked Gun, or he's in Creepshow 2.
This poster's actually kind of cool. It's just the nightmare has begun just before dawn.
Yeah, they've re-released it recently, so that's what I meant.
Yeah, kind of a cool poster. There's no who will live, who will die, human survival at any cost. The hunted resort, not haunted. The hunted resort to the same animal instincts as the hunters in this unique. Oh, I get it now. Unique struggle for life. I was thinking haunted resort, but they mean the hunted are going to resort to this. This looks stupid. He's dressed as a cowboy.
Don't be jealous.
It's probably actually, yeah. I mean, one cover's really cool. The other has a cowboy on it. So you choose. Dawn of the Mummy.
Yeah,
Dawn of the Mummy. End of December. The end of the year.
Last month of 1981.
So people are getting ready for Christmas, and they're like, let's turn these fucking movies on.
Oh,
let's watch Dawn of the Mummy. Somebody thought that was a great idea.
Dawn of the Mummy.
What's Dawn of the Mummy?
A group of fashion models disturb the tomb of a mummy and revive an ancient curse. Along with the mummy rising, his slaves do as well. They've been buried for thousands of years ago, and they rise and crave human flesh. So yeah. It's
you sound way too happy when you read these.
It's basically a zombie film, but they're mummies.
How do mummies never have mummy cats with them?
Yeah,
that is a good question.
They didn't have the money for that.
But they brought their slaves back?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't bring their cats.
They bring your fucking cat.
Oh, you mean in reality, as if this was a thing?
I feel like they're always
in movies.
They worship their cats.
They worship their cats and shit. Why didn't the fucking cat come back? Well, Mr. Niblet's got to stay dead.
It's always Anubis because they look cooler instead of the cat god.
So you've seen this, right?
Oh yeah, I saw it as a child. I still have the VHS somewhere. I think it's on the table. And the VHS was so grainy and so shitty. They've re-released it recently and then cleaned it up, so that's good. So I think you should definitely check that out. But yeah, it's basically just a mummy zombie movie.
Are they coming just after revenge of coming at the fashion models?
Here's the thing: people keep dying, and then they just want to hang around and still finish the photo shoot the next night. They'll stay the whole night. It's these fuckers just got killed.
Why is it that when somebody gets resurrected, they kill the people that resurrected them?
That's a good point.
That seems like a
Just went quiet.
Yeah, well, no, that's a good point. You
Yeah,
just get up and be like, all right, cool, you guys can hang out. You guys can live.
Yeah.
You brought me
Thanks for
back.
bringing me back.
You would think you would just come back and be like, you know what? I'm going to rule the world and murder everybody, but you guys, have a Snickers. Have a good day.
You all fucked up, but it's your lucky day.
It's your lucky day. I'm going to murder your families and your children and everything you love.
Not your cats.
But you, and not your cats.
It was directed by a guy named Frank Grama, and the only other horror film he did was Queen Kong the year before. I'd never heard of that.
Queen Kong?
See?
Is it a giant?
I don't
gorilla?
know. I'm so fucking. I can't wait to see this thing.
Oh, man.
Dave's gonna look it up.
Is it going to be like Miss Pac-Man and just pick a ribbon on? It's just a ribbon on King Kong's head.
Queen Kong, written by the Daria Price, who's not connected to Vincent Price whatsoever. She also wrote Queen Kong.
Oh,
so
wow.
somebody has
Sure.
to see this movie and tell us about it.
I mean, given the description you gave me for Dawn of the Mummy, Queen Kong has to be a fucking
It's an
classic.
adventure comedy parodying King Kong.
Oh, that makes sense.
What made this movie different for for like Universal Monsters? It's really graphic. I remember being like, "Fuck, holy shit!" They're like ripping people away. Oh, did you find the movie poster?
It is exactly what I said. They put a ribbon on King Kong's head.
Oh shit!
Tits.
It's everything I've ever wanted.
But I had to make some notes. There's like no suspension of disbelief. It's just like impossible to believe anything that happens. It's one of those movies
Yeah.
you're just like, oh my god.
So this
oh
photo
my
shoot's
God,
happening
oh my
like in a
God.
pyramid. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, it's like it's in a pyramid, outside the pyramid. It's glamorous, man.
Okay, yeah.
The pharaoh's guts are still juicy. I remember that, like because like he comes back to life and he's wet. It's like in the
don't know
movie.
what- you don't know what he was
like,
dreaming
he's
about.
Still juicy. Yeah. Let's see. The hieroglyphs look like they're put on by a Sharpie. There's no. I'm just like, well, that looks real. they're not even cut into like styrofoam. It's just like.
Last moment. It's like, hey, we need more hieroglyphs over here. Grab a Sharpie.
But they spent money and actually filmed it in Egypt.
That's stupid.
But they couldn't fucking like carve like a little Dremel.
Could they just done it like Vegas?
I don't know, man. Yeah, right. The Vegas
Dude, fucking Vegas.
Vegas
man.
mummy.
Has to be way cheaper.
Oh shit!
Appearance in Vegas.
I wrote down the back of the box, so I got it's a tale of the unspeakable as a pharaoh's dark legacy of of vengeance of the ages and of shrouded mysteries and the things that lie beneath it.
They try to make that way more serious than what you end up
Yeah.
doing.
I know. A tale of terror for amid the splendors of the pharaoh's tomb, a mummy awakes to fulfill the curse and rise and kill.
I mean, it's probably not hard to be in like the top 20 mummy movies of all time, though. So they probably have that going for them somehow.
Shit. Variety wrote, Gore, the mummy is very impressive.
Stephen King.
I found that. Yeah.
It's a Stephen
It's a
King
Stephen
thriller.
King for Variety, but that's all I've got on this movie, yeah.
My least favorite Brendan Fraser movie. You actually had the VHS right there.
Yeah, that's the one I've had since I was a kid. But God, it's almost unwatchable because it's so dark and grainy. But it's on YouTube, and I put it on our YouTube channel for the Gore.
Boom. So
Yeah.
you guys got all kinds of shit to watch if you visit
Homework.
the Facebook and the YouTube.
So we got
yeah, homework. Enjoy your life.
Senjanor.
Scared to death?
Yeah, it's known for scared. It's not a good movie. It's actually written by. Well, okay, it's not a good movie that I would like. Okay, I like sci-fi horror. I like that William Malone, the guy who directed it. He did this. He did like a episode of Masters of Horror. He did an episode of Freddy's Nightmares. I like his stuff. This is one of his first movies, and you can really tell. But he used to work for Don Post Studios, so he was like, I can make a movie. And the most impressive thing is the alien suit. It's if you might not know what I'm talking about, but if you saw the picture, you'd like, I know what that is. It's just like this alien fucking monster. But when you see that picture, you're like, I don't know what that's from, and that's what this movie's from. And I know it's a weird way to describe it. I can't. I'm gonna I'll put a link up to it in the comments of this, and everyone's gonna be like, oh yeah, I know that movie. Like, no, you don't, but you know the alien creature.
Ghost Story.
Ghost Story.
But I don't know what that one's about. Because I haven't seen it.
It's about ghosts.
It's a
Have
ghost
you seen
story.
it? I haven't seen it in a while, but it's kind of like how they were doing like the Monster Club or like those old movies, like trying to pull like the House of Long Shadows, where they're trying to pull old actors back out of like a retirement and make something very old school, haunted house
Very
movie.
1950s House
very
on
much
Haunted
so.
Hill. Yeah.
It's written by Peter Straub, who most people know from like his collaborations with Stephen King. I think he and Guillermo del Toro did like a whole thing together. Yeah, sure. That's about it. I mean, this guy it's directed by John Irvin, written by Lawrence. I wrote stuff down. Lawrence Cohen, not that Larry Cohen, but this guy wrote like Tommyknockers, A Nightmare of Dreamscapes, and Carrie the Musical.
Carrie the Musical?
Yes.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Wait. He wrote 2 Stephen King movies and
Right?
Carrie the Musical.
Carrie the Musical? Okay.
Explain yourself.
I've never seen Carrie the musical. I've seen Evil Dead the musical.
Was it
I've
a
seen Reanimator
Broadway
the
thing?
musical. I have no idea. Investigate.
I've never heard of it. I mean, we were getting some good ones for a while. We had Point Break, we had Matrix, we had Evil Dead, had some
Spider-Man.
bangers coming through. Spider-Man, Star Trek.
Yeah.
We didn't get fucking Carrie.
I don't
Reservoir
know.
Dogs. We had Reservoir Dogs the musical.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Oh,
But it's got like Fred Astaire, Douglas Fairbanks, John Houseman, who's also like people will know from I don't know, like Scrooged and The Fog. Alice Krige, who a lot of people know from like Sleepwalkers. She's the mom. She's in like a Star Trek movie where she's like the Queen Borg. She's like 20 in this movie. Let's see. It's not very original, but it's all about the sincerity of the characters. The effects are by Master Dick Smith, so they're really good, but they're just chopped down to like 2 seconds.
What's his name? Master Dick Smith.
It should be Master Dick
Smith. Oh man.
It's like Alfred talking to Robin. It's Master Dick.
And the only other note that I wrote is Fred Astaire kept telling people on set that he was going to be killed on set.
Oh, like he thought he was going to actually die?
I don't know if he had like dementia or
He probably-
whatever the
he
fuck.
probably
Did he die?
No.
Probably owed a
Did he
booking
die
money.
eventually?
Yeah, of course he's Fred Astaire. He's got to die.
Well,
He's going to die.
That's what counts.
Dance to death.
So speaking of death, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
why is that one even on
I
there?
wrote that down because it was a big deal when it came out because they re-released it on television. Obviously, they didn't have physical. You couldn't go rent movies,
Right.
and they just released it on television. It was the first time that it had been released since its original broadcast. I just wanted to touch on it. It's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, and then
More you know.
And now it's never going to go away.
No, I know.
And then the last movie on our list came out the same day as How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
The day
not-
before
technically-
Christmas.
It's not a horror film,
Christmas
but we
Eve.
have to talk about it. At least something about it. It's Mad Max 2: The Road Warrior.
Oh man.
If you don't have something to say about this movie, I don't know, man. It's one of those movies.
Tina Turner.
That's part 3.
I know.
We don't need another sequel. Yes, you do.
Humongous.
Tom Hardy.
It's this movie blew me away as a kid. Whether we want to go into it on a horror podcast, but like the violence, how it started just afterwards, because I did get to see Mad Max first. A lot of people didn't even connect it because they released it in America, they just changed the name to Road Warrior because that makes sense. You're not going to see a lower budget action movie from Australia in America, but then you get to see it because if you dad owned a video store or ran a video store, you saw Mad Max.
Mad Max, yeah.
Right. So Road Warrior is just one of those movies that's just never going to end. I mean, they remade it as Waterworld, didn't they?
Assless chaps. Hey, you know what?
Don't ruin it.
I
Burning well.
actually thought we were going to
burn it.
have a Road Warrior situation about a month ago when everybody was fucking freaking out about gas.
Oh,
Oh yeah, it's close.
I was just
People
like,
were-
cool, we're getting there, guys. Get your chaps ready. Get your hockey mask ready.
I'm ready.
Your baby oil.
Dude, I'm ready for any reason you give me to not leave my house. I was
I'm
like,
just
oh,
being a
yeah,
feral
this is
kid.
the best.
I'm just going to get a boomerang and fuck everybody up with it.
Is this your favorite of the series, Road Warrior?
Definitely. I think it even troops the newest one, which is Fury Road, which is great. I like that movie a lot, but Road Warrior is my favorite.
It's because they kind of up everything that happened in the first
everything
one.
in this film, and it's
Like
great.
the first one, but for like a little spritz of cocaine. Thanks to Mel Gibson.
Oh,
Then you
Probably
get
more than the
God,
spritz,
yeah.
actually.
Then you get to Bartertown, and then it's a whole lot of cocaine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just it's a seminal film. You have nothing on this film?
You imagine? Well, I mean, I thought it was fun. It was a great movie.
Oh man, okay.
Lots of
feel
Australian
like-
accents.
I feel like that's a whole separate conversation with Road
Yeah,
Warrior
it
and the
definitely
entire
is.
Mad Max series.
So we ended on How the Grinch Stole Christmas and The Road Warrior.
Which is interesting for a horror podcast. Those are the last two things we gave you. Well,
I think it's fitting.
we talked about the fucking Ghost of Mr. Chicken or whatever, and then How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and then Road Warrior.
Could you imagine if like your parents are like, all right, it's Christmas, let's go see a movie, and like you take you to see fucking Road Warrior?
I would freak the fuck out.
That'd be
man.
awesome.
Yeah. That's traumatizing film. It's got all the things that we talked about, like fuck you up as a kid. It's got, people being murdered just right in front of you, whether you've never seen it or not, and it's very graphic for some. I mean, it's not a horror film, so you're going to take your kids to see this movie. It's got rape, of course. Like fuck, man. It's the 81. Let's just keep raping people. What the fuck?
I like Road Warrior more than I like the Road Warriors because I hate that tag team. So for all you wrestling fans out there, I know everybody worships the Legion of Doom. I fucking hate them.
Demolition.
Suck
They're more of a. This is more of a demolition.
I like bootleg Demolition. For the longest time though, like I never put that together when I was a kid. I was like, oh yeah, Road Warrior, Road Warriors. They wear the fucking. Like,
they wear the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean it's totally what that
They
was.
look like
but
Vernon Wells.
They do.
Yeah.
Vernon Wells is a nice guy. Very intimidating looking fella still to this day, but probably one of like the kindest people I've met at a convention. So that's what I'll say about Road Warrior.
And he has a lot of great memories about movies that he's been in. He seems to choose movies like even Commando. You think he'd be up? He's like, no, Arnold was great.
I don't know about that chainmail and that mustache he was rocking during that movie, but the movie was pretty good.
So if you had to we split 1981 in half. If you had to pick your favorite movie from the first half and your favorite from the second half, what would you go with?
I can't do part one, but I can definitely do part two.
Go for the second half of the year, and we'll consider that your favorite movie of 81.
I'm going to say Evil Dead.
See, that's the one that I'm supposed to take.
You can't say Evil Dead.
I know, you can't say Evil Dead.
Sure you can.
Like, he's already taken.
Evil Dead is like one of my favorite movies.
It's cheating.
But
it's not. Just tell us what you're fucking.
Well, I'm going to say out of the movies that I had to rewatch, Galaxy of Terror. It's fucking awesome. I had never seen it. I'd never seen it.
Nice.
And you were like, "Hey, watch this," and it was a surprise. It was nice to watch.
We had to get through. Like, fuck, why did we choose?
Oh yeah. I watched Porno
this?
Holocaust. Remember?
Oh, that's right. We were so excited.
You were texting some really big mistakes because none of us were going to watch fucking Kung Fu Cannibal Zombie Sex or whatever.
Yeah, no, that was Kung Fu Zombies too.
That was close. I had some
Fuck
words.
me.
Yeah. So you went through the ringer for this. It's good for you for the research. For me, The Prowler. I mean, Evil Dead's obvious, or American Werewolf in London. But if I had to go with one that doesn't fit into like those all-time faves and just box it in a year, I would say The Prowler. But I mean, it's hard to compete with like the classics that came out during that time. Even Halloween 2. I love Halloween 2.
I do too. Friday
so many good
13th
ones.
Part 2, Galaxy of Terror. I was super surprised by Dead and Buried. This is coming out obviously after the Joe Bob episode, but we planned this before Joe Bob.
We planned it. Yeah, a lot of times with our timing, it's kind of funny how things work out because we've had that happen a few times now. Even this one, we're talking about Evil Speak, and I think that's this Friday. So.
Yeah.
It's good timing, guys.
You got Scanners, Steve. You got Wolfen. You got all kinds to pick from.
Scanners is another one.
Oh,
though,
from
man.
part one. You still have your notes.
Shit.
Yeah, there's just so much
I
shit.
changed my mind. It's Wolfen.
Hey, 81
That's
is
a great one.
Hey,
So many good movies in that year.
It's all the werewolf movies that were good ever. 81.
Came out in 81.
1981. Dave, you want to take us out of here and we can close this out for 1981?
Yes. Thank you for listening. You can catch us on Anchor FM, Breaker, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, Apple Podcast. I think is that on there twice now? Castbox. We're in the Netherlands and Paraguay now.
We're in 25 countries. It's
25
keeps
countries.
growing, but whoever is listening to us has problems.
It's all right. The world sucks. Anyway.
Thanks, guys.
The world's
We're outta
falling
here.
apart.
It's falling apart.
Road Warrior.
Thank you guys so much.